I think we saw this video yesterday by Devin. I'm guessing we probably agree with it. I don't think we need to watch
The
it.
first thing
That he's talking about, like, X might have been a good acquisition if you factor in how much money he made. Like, by controlling the outcome of the election. But I don't think anybody would disagree there. Will you please make some of the emails you've gotten that you thought... Will you please make some of the emails you've gotten that you thought was helpful? Are you asking me if I would make a list of them or if I'd publish them? I don't know how I feel about publishing emails from people. It feels kind of weird. I don't know. I usually read them if they're interesting. And then if they're really good, then I end up repeating the concepts from them in every single future debate for at least 6 months now. Do you see polls that said voters overwhelmingly rated the economy as more positive during the Great Recession than they did under Biden? No. Wait, link that. Wait, what? The comment linked to this vid was for the comment. Somebody said Kasparov, I think, linked this because he believes in a conspiracy. Kasparov also felt it illogical that the Romans and the Greeks living under the banner of Byzantium could fail to use the mounds of scientific knowledge left to them by ancient Greece and Rome, especially when it was of urgent military use. Kasparov does not support the reconstruction part of the new chronology. There's I have no idea what this is even about. The new chronology is a pseudo-historical theory proposed by Anatoly Fomenko, who argues that events of antiquity generally attributed to the ancient civilizations of Rome, Greece, and Egypt actually occurred during the Middle Ages, more than 1,000 years later. Wow. Care to chat? Hey Jay, ask me in a week, buddy. Anatoly. Okay. Do you think you could do enough research or learn enough code to build your own AI or bot? Okay, building an AI or bot are two very different things. And it also depends on what you mean when you say build, like, when you say build a bot. Like, theoretically, I could learn enough code to deploy a bot in probably 3 hours. But, like, are you talking about just learning the most basic way to host a thing that somebody else has already created? Or are you talking about, like, building, like, the bot itself? But when you say build the bot, are you talking about, because, like, I could probably copy paste any Python code and just, like, edit in, like, simple variables. Like, I just go through the code to, like, tweak shit. Or you're talking about, like, creating something from the ground up, or you're talking about, like, custom, like, that could be a project that could take, like, 3 hours of, like, research to learn how to do, all the way to it could take you weeks or maybe months, depending on how complicated, I guess. Like, so it's, yeah, it doesn't even, when you say build a thing, it depends on what you mean by that, right? It's like saying build a computer. Oh, true, actually, yeah. Yeah, actually, it's actually just like saying build a computer. Like, how long would it take you to learn to build a computer? An ordinary person could probably do it in an hour. If you're talking about, like, plugging a monitor in and plugging a keyboard and mouse in, and then, like, hooking it into the wall would be like a person with zero experience could learn these plugins, like, pretty quickly. If you mean putting all the parts in a PC, that would probably take a bit longer. If you're talking about actually building, like, the actual PCBs or, like, components or soldering chips onto boards, like, or doing like, yeah, that could all, yeah. Building a computer is like Legos. 90% of humans could do it in an hour. I legitimately think that you believe that. And that's what I mean when I say it's true in the political world, it's true in the computer, it's true in every world. Sometimes people will dramatically underestimate how much stuff they even know when it comes to, like, doing a thing. My guess is probably less than 10% of Americans, given instructions, could put together a computer in, like, less than 4 hours. That'd be my guess. Probably less than 10%, maybe less than 5%. Yeah, it would be. And if you disagree with anything I'm saying, go work IT that is, like, customer facing in any fucking in any fucking domain ever, okay? And you'll be. Are you saying with access to the internet they wouldn't be able to figure it out? Like, the fact that you think that somebody, just because they have access to the internet, would even know what to Google. I was asking how accessible the AI technology would be for a common person with the knowledge that you are smarter than a common person. I mean, I am, of course. But I don't know what you're asking me. Like, building an AI bot? I have absolutely no background or anything in any of that. I don't even know what that means when you say build an AI bot. I don't actually, like, build my own, like, LLMs or whatever would probably take me years of study to even know what that even means or how to do that, right? Or I truly have no idea. I don't have any Yeah. Zelensky accepts podcast offer with Lex. Nice. Silicate chemistry is second nature to us geochemists, so it's easy to forget that the average person probably only knows the formulas for olive wine and one or two feldspars. And quartz, of course. Of course. Even when they're trying to compensate for it, experts in anything wildly overestimate the average person's familiarity with their field. True. Do you think that Joe Rogan will ever invite another liberal onto the show? He seems to be rejecting anyone pro-Ukraine. I don't know. And, whatever thought I have in my mind of Joe Rogan doesn't map on cleanly to him not allowing pro-Ukraine people to go on. Like, my assumption would be that he would. I don't know why he wouldn't. That's really weird to me because I wouldn't think, I just wouldn't imagine in my mind that Joe Rogan is like actually legitimately conservative. That's just kind of like where it's like the popular mind fuck place to be right now. Not that he's even choosing it because it's popular, but just because he's happened to fallen into it. But when's like the last time he's had like a liberal or somebody that gives like legitimate pushback on a show? I don't watch his show or I don't know his guest list or anything at all. I don't understand why we add negative normative loading to engaging in political media through memes instead of dense codified law or convoluted academic articles or essays, etc. I would argue that memes empower less informed classes and people and in turn makes them better voters. I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. Because there's like a weird thing that happens where we demonize like intellectualism, or we demonize like the intelligentsia, or we demonize like academia. But then we also tell people to read books, but nobody does. But then we make fun of people for getting information through memes or jokes. But I don't even know if we do. Maybe it's just when they get information through memes or jokes that we don't agree with. I'd have to think about that more. Because like, what was I gonna say? Oh yeah, I've never thought about these before, so I'm thinking. It's off the top of the dome. It used to be the case that if you wanted to get somebody to follow your political ideology, it was like generally well accepted that you would make like a pamphlet. You'd make something easy for the plebes to understand, right? Like is it the Communist Manifesto? This is just, oh, no, wait. This is 142 pages. What am I thinking of? Was it this? Or was it something different? But basically, like, it was accepted that you would have to make things for ordinary people. For like, you wouldn't have to read Das Kapital or whatever. You'd get these pamphlets that people would pass around to explain political ideologies. But I feel like today people would make fun of you for that. But I don't know why. Hank Green spoke about this in one of his recent videos. Oh, fuck it.
Good morning, John.
A pamphlet is way too long now. You have to make a TikTok vid. Sure, and I think you can kind of like make fun of people maybe for that. Like, wow, like people can't even read pamphlets anymore. But I mean, like, again, remember we said at the beginning of the stream, like culturally, you kind of load things and you view things differently based on the environment that you live in. If you, like back in the day, what the fuck are you doing with your time? Like after you do your work, there's nothing. There's no cell phones. There's no television. There's fucking nothing. Like you have nothing to do with your time. So like a pamphlet that takes you like an hour to read, that might be like an easy, like, oh, fuck it, let's just spend an hour. Like a pamphlet might have been the TikTok of the 1700s, you know? You asked about dissenting voices on Joe Rogan Experience. Joe Rogan had Michael Osterholm on his show twice. The first time they were on the same page when it came to managing a pandemic and vaccines, and the second time Michael had to fight back against the shit Rogan was saying, as far as I can tell. How long ago was he on his show? Yeah, new pamphlet drop. Let's go. 4 years ago, bro. Oh, 5 months ago. Oof, but still. Majority of Americans feel worse off than 4 years ago. Would you say that you and your family are better off now than you were 4 years ago, or are you worse off now? Better off 4 years ago. Wait, I don't understand. Was this poll asked in 2024, in 2020, in 2012, and in 2004? That's what this is showing, right? It's not asking somebody today if they were better off now than they were in 2020 or 2012, right? Percentage of Americans mention economic issues as the nation's most important problem. Has there ever been a survey done for what does an American expect from the economy? I feel like that would be a really interesting question. Pretty broad question. Yeah, but like I wonder what somebody would say, like, what do you think if the economy is working perfectly, what is the economy providing you? I'm curious what people would say, or what the expectations are. Jesus Christ.
Well,
23 minutes. He just threw this whole last fucking video up here. Okay. Wait, you can click on usernames and see all of their comments on a channel. Is that true? Jesus Christ. I wonder if these are bots. Well, I mean, what a worthless question, I guess. Is all this like, you can publicly view this? Like, can anybody click? 1 day ago, I'm guessing this is one of my videos, Destiny got cucked by his ex-wife. Recent comments on this channel. Comment on Destiny versus Asmik. I don't know if it's the same video or a different one. Oh, Destiny, you will always be a weak man, and you will need real men to help you one day. Comment on Trump victory aftermath. Cry some more, you weak man. Trump is your president. Commented on Destiny versus Asmik on Trump. You're a weak man. Trump is your president. Cry some more. Jesus. He's going off. Since there's apparently a coup taking place in Damascus right now, do you think the shit show in the Middle East will become even worse when Syria gets a pro-Iran government? I'm super retarded. Is Syria not already pro-Iran? My understanding is that I thought the IRGC in Iran and Hezbollah help Assad quite a bit. I don't know what word. Is that not true? Did something change recently, or? That chatter was retarded. Oh, okay. Well,
we're gonna do, Brian. We had some challenges in this last election.
What is this?
With younger voters. We're not doing well with Gen Z. And so what we...
Do you hate that American politics is like a giant spectator sport for the rest of the world? Reading takes about what Democrats should do from people in New Zealand is infuriating. I mean, America policy affects the rest of the world, so it's like I guess it's our payback, huh? Like, Americans might be irritated that British people have strong opinions about our politics, but I mean, like, our politics and the choices and decisions that we make kind of affect every other country around the world. So, I mean, it is what it is.
We need you with Punish You Back. Here's what we're gonna do, Brian. We had some challenges in this last election with younger voters. We're not doing well with Gen Z. And so what we need you to do is a direct appeal to the younger generation. So we got you a Gen Z outfit to wear, and we drafted a message from you directly to these young men that we need to win back.
Cool.
No cap. Here's your glasses that you can wear.
Oh, God.
You're gonna look good.
Cool.
This is gonna be great.
All right, fellas. No cap. We need to have a serious vibe check. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. Trump won. Big yikes. Worst part, it's not because his policies are good, it's because the GOP had more Riz than us. They hit that For You page of America while we were out here looking like the NPC campaign. Look, I get it. You're frustrated, you're thinking, this is so mid, why even try anymore? But giving up, that is exactly what they want. If we want to turn this thing around, we need to stop being extra and start getting real about how we connect with people. We were out here with PowerPoints and charts, wondering why nobody was hyped. The other side, serving up skibbity toilet content, straight up brain rot, and we're trying to explain tax brackets. Sus, right? Here's the thing though, we have policies. What we don't have is the drip when it comes to selling them. You want to talk about climate change? Cool, but just don't talk doom and gloom. Make it about the glow up of a cleaner, better future. You want to defend abortion rights? Don't just explain why, tell people why that fight is based. We need to be the Rizzler of movements, so undeniable that people can't help but stan us. We've got the energy, we've got the ideas, we've got the people. Now we just need to bring the boom and show this country that progressive politics isn't just good, it's bullshit. So let's get to work. It's not over. It's just the beginning. No cap. Tommy, you got no riz. Everything you...
Nice. Okay. I don't understand why Democrats insist on shitting on young people. How about you fucking try to connect with them instead of making videos like this? Destiny, do you agree? No, I hate young people, so we should shit on them. They don't deserve to have a voice politically. And they don't vote. I don't remember if I said that right. Hold on, loading up the last our videos. 1 sec.
That deal.
What is this? 23 hours ago. Should we just watch this? I don't know why this was time stamped.
You know, where's that part of Anne Frank's diary when she was also rating ships?
Good one, dude.
Just stop.
Okay, all right, okay. Oh, somebody linked this. I replied to this, or I quote tweeted it, and I was joking. And I don't think he understood that I was joking. Fuck him. We're haters here now. How would you rate America's economy / your personal financial situation these days? Oh. Destiny, going back to the computer thing, gun to your head, you think 90% of Americans couldn't build a PC? Well, when you say couldn't build a PC, what do you mean to say that? Like, given an unlimited amount of time and training, I think probably 98% of people could build a PC. But like in a few hours with like a walkthrough, that you just don't, I just don't think you understand like how, like the types of problems that people would even run into, right? Like when you say like take the motherboard out and like put it in the case, people are going to be like, do I put it on the top or the bottom? Or like which way do I put it in? Or like what side does it even go in on? Like I think or like what is the orientation of the board? Like there are so many fundamental steps that to you are just second nature because you've dealt with computers and computer parts your whole life. But it would be like an ordinary person would have so many different little things like that to go through. I've heard that a lot of these economic questions are just kind of bullshit. I don't know how true that is. There's like a, fuck. Was it a Substack that I read? It was an article a long time ago. There's that fucking question of like living paycheck to paycheck. Fuck, I want to do anything right now. What does that even mean? What does living paycheck to paycheck mean? Is there an actual metric or... Because I see like stuff like this will be brought up a lot, but I've seen people say they're living paycheck to paycheck who put away a little bit of money into savings every month. And be like, yeah, I'm living paycheck to paycheck. I can barely put away like $100 a month into savings or like $50. And it's like, bro, that's not living paycheck to paycheck. I don't know. Have you noticed, especially with older people, they just shut off their brains with tech problems? I don't understand it. These usually otherwise smart people. It reminds me of people who convince themselves they're just bad at math. I think if you don't have any familiarity with it, you just don't want to get into it. To be fair, I did the same thing with TVs for a long time. Like, I don't know fuck all about how to work a TV, and I didn't even try. And if I'd like a friend over or something, I'd be like, listen, if you want to watch something, you got to put it on. I don't know how to, like, you have to push like the home button to like bring up the place to go look for shit. But now that I've learned more for the studio stuff downstairs, now I can operate TVs better. I think it's just laziness. Okay. Wait, what is this?
You know, where's that part of Anne Frank's diary when she was also rating ships?
I give it a 6.2 out of 10. Okay. The original song starts with that laugh. Thank you. That's a song from my generation, motherfucker. Don't tell me what it starts with, okay? Fuck you. That's my generation's music. I think. All right, good luck.
In this video, I would like to try... Good morning, John. In this video, I would like to try to explain what the hell is going on. Which, I know, is a tall order and is going to be imprecise, but we're going to do our best. Everyone lives through unprecedented times, but a thing I keep thinking, especially when I'm looking down at an 8-year-old boy who's probably going to be alive in the year 2100, is how weird is this really? How weird is his life going to be? And John, I'd like to make the case that very. Like, his life is going to be historically weird. My son is going to grow up in a world that has been fractured by a set of circumstances that the world has not seen for more than 500 years. Now, media technologies absolutely do evolve and change, and there are new ones all the time, but I'd like to start, if you will forgive me, talking a little bit about radio, which I think we think of radio as one of the most boring communications technologies there is, just a way to get music that we didn't.
Hasan called Mutahar smelly and said that he had Dorito stains. Wait, what? No shot. Do I want to watch? No, oh God. Well, it's not December 1st yet, is it?
Actually be expecting a ban. You know, a couple...
Would you?
Wait, what?
I would actually be expecting a ban.
If he were to do what? This on YouTube or really any other platform or even Twitch?
I would actually be expecting a ban. You know, a couple...
Would you? Those fucking YouTube, those videos are on YouTube. They're on Twitter. It's a video that's hosted on YouTube and Twitter. It's not akin to ISIS, dumbass.
Like, about a year or two ago, like, I was...
Oh, Houthi propaganda? If he promoted the Houthis and showed the video of a ship taken over. Oh, I don't know if you would get banned on YouTube for that. I'm not sure. The problem is that Twitch is supposed to have a more strict policy on promotion of terrorist stuff, which I'm like 40% sure that got added either because of me or because of one of my orbiters. I don't remember. I don't remember if we were the inspiration for that rule or not. I think that rule was added after we were banned. Did that come because of Dylan? Fuck. I'm trying to remember where that rule came from, but you weren't allowed to show any You weren't allowed to show any videos now of like extremist content. Even if you weren't supporting it, you weren't allowed to show videos of it, let alone fucking supporting it, right? That's like way over the line. But these were Twitch's rules. But I don't think that YouTube has those rules. X definitely doesn't. I don't know why Hasan brings up Twitter, but
like about a year or two ago, like I was actually assisting a couple smaller YouTubers who basically had memes.
There are literal neo-Nazis on YouTube. What the fuck are you talking about?
that's not responsive. There are neo-Nazis on YouTube. That's not responsive to anything. The question is, can you host the content? So that was stupid to say.
Apparently, some of them even, maybe not neo-Nazis, but some YouTubers even sit around and do reviews of child porn, drawn child porn, hentai,
Oh, he's talking about Lolicon.
lolicon. That's how little YouTube gives a shit about their own terms of service.
Wait, is he saying that they show Lolicon on YouTube? I'm almost positive you'd get banned. He's talking about the Nooks Taco, whatever the fuck that guy's name is. I thought that Mutahar wasn't one of the people that were involved in that, though. Was he? And if he was, wasn't that like 10 years ago? And doesn't he say that people shouldn't? I don't even know what wait, God, Hasan is like the king of. He's such a. Oh God, he's so fucking annoying. Oh, he's so annoying. I love how he like pearl clutches over this shit. Oh my God, when he absolutely doesn't give a fuck.
Their own terms of service.
Nux showed Muda Lolicon recently. What, like Muda was drawing it or it was drawn of him? Was it on YouTube? Like he was streaming on YouTube of him like watching.
You know, Mutahar should know that. Seemingly, he participated in a review of Lolicon himself.
What is it? I don't understand. Review of Lolicon. Like he was like supporting it or like whatever. God, he's such a cringe fucking loser. Remember, you have a responsibility to shame the fuck out of any loser fuck friends in real life, okay, that watch or support this shit. Jesus Christ. Did I say there's another drama? I remember hearing a little bit about this, but wasn't it like, fuck. It was the guy that drew that picture of me with the Autism Speaks shirt. Wasn't there some guy who drew Lolly a long time ago, and there were some people who were like friends with him? Shadman, yeah. Or is this a different drama? How is Hasan such a lore master? Because it's either going to be like me, where people feed him stuff, like a lot of people link me shit. We're getting link shit right now, or he legitimately just digs in a lot in the background, which I've heard now from multiple people. He's pretty obsessed with people, so who knows? This was his response. Oh, this YouTube drama subreddit is crazy. Resurfaced video of Oompaville, some ordinary gamers, and Nooks Taku watching Lolliporn together on a Discord call. Can't speak for Caleb, but from what I remember regarding stuff like this is stuff from Nux showing us hentai for his competitions, and usually in this there are around multiple creators. No defense here, I'm not knowledgeable for anything anime, and I blindly assume someone we collaborated with this time showed us hentai and nothing illegal. Since, well, I don't even know if this is illegal, right? Since this appears to now come from something more sinister, I apologize for what I said in this, and I'm livid at Nux, who is quite against this kind of attention. Okay, I don't know. Okay, already fallen asleep.
You know, where's that part of Anne Frank's diary?
Hasan crashing out on Mutahar. Wait, do we have two threads of the same fucking clip? Lolly is apparently illegal in Canada. Mutahar streams from a boat.
When she was also raiding ships.
Good one, dude. Yeah, I know. Would that be a problem? Would that be a fucking problem, Mutahar? Why do you hate the Warsaw Ghetto Uprising?
Wait, wait. Is Mutahar saying there? Wait, wait, what? I'm so confused. Mutahar saying there aren't videos of or there's not like memoirs of Anne Frank being like a terrorist or like, you know, engaging in terrorism against the Nazis, and now Hasan saying, well, would that be a problem? My guess is going to be Mutahar would say no, that wouldn't be a problem, but that wasn't the claim. Did I misunderstand this? Hold on.
You know, where's that part of Anne Frank's diary when she was also raiding ships?
Good one, dude. Yeah, I know. Would that be a problem? Would that be a fucking problem, Mutahar?
No, I don't think anybody thinks that that would be a problem.
Why do you hate the Warsaw Ghetto Uprising? Do you think that they shouldn't have done that?
Has Mutahar ever said that he hate? No, why am I asking these rhetorical questions? Is there like value in even reacting or watching shit like,
Oh man, the Nat Turner Rebellion really fucking, it was really messed up, dude. They really should not have done that. John Brown should not have done what he did.
all right, well, in that case, every single Palestinian that's been killed was a terrorist, right? Can we just say that? And then you're like, wait a second, what? And you go, well, what? Would it be a problem if they were? Don't we think they all have a right to fight back anyway? So they're all terrorists now. We just say that, right? Because they have a right to be terrorists, so we'll just say they're all terrorists, right? Like, what is this logic? This is so stupid. Obviously stupid. This literally is Holocaust revisionism, by the way. Was Anne Frank part of the Warsaw Ghetto Uprising, though? No, but I don't think he was implying she was part of that. I don't even know if we know what happened to Anne Frank, do we? Didn't she just, don't people think that she went on a certain train to a certain place and she died there? Do we know 100% like what her final destination was? Do we know? Like, I think we know where she died, but I don't know if we know. Maybe we do, I don't know. She died of typhoid fever. The logic is a retarded conclusion from a wrong premise to begin with. You need to accept that 1, the Gaza war is a genocide, and 2, anyone the Houthis target are committing a genocide. True. Anne Frank is known to have died in Bergen-Belsen. Is it Bergen or Bergen? Georgian activists have occupied a state TV channel and are forcing the host to discuss government brutality on air. It's happening right now live. Georgian? Bro, the election's over. What do they care? Are Ossoff and Warnock there? I get it. I get it. I get it. Georgia, the state, not the country. What's the evidence that they've stormed the station?
სრული პასუხი აი მე გეუბნებით სრული პასუხი თუ რამე შემიძლია ვთქვა რომ ეს უბრალოდ ვერ გამოიწვია პირველი არხი მოდი ესე გეტყვით არ მინდა რომ დაგღალო და შენ პირველი არხი იმდენი საშუალებით გადაიცემა რითაც არ გადაიცემა
Why is there a language just called Eastern European? Why do I feel like every single Eastern European person speaks the same fucking language? Is there just one? What's going on over there? What are they speaking over there? What's going on? A Slavic language family? What's the main one called? Just Slavic? Slovenian? Slovakian? Georgian isn't even Slavic. Okay, well. Get fucked. Hasan's claim was that the Houthi kid was not a terrorist, but basically Anne Frank, right? I don't know. I don't know what Hasan's claim could possibly be. All of them are stupid. Any claim that that whole family of claims would be stupid. The whole reason, somebody in chat said it, the whole reason why Anne Frank's story is the reason why we know about her or care about her is 1, because there's a record, right? A whole diary. And 2 is because it's like an innocent little girl, right? Would Anne Frank have had the right to fight back violently? Sure, of course. But it would be a different story. It would be a different type of story. And people would take different things from it. The whole point is that it's like an innocent little child. Not to say that they wouldn't. I don't even know why I'm qualifying this. If you think differently, fuck you. Don't care. Okay. All right. Sorry. Back to, okay. 51 seconds in. Let's go.
A little bit about radio, which...
Oh my God. Did he just machine gun those words out? Hit a little bit. To be fair, I have it like 1.5x.
Change, and there are new ones all the time, but I'd like to start, if you will forgive me, talking a little bit about radio, which I think we think of radio as one of the most boring communications technologies there is, just a way to get music that we didn't pick, interspersed by ads that are at least locally relevant. So let's put ourselves into the minds of people back in the early 1900s. It's hard to...
Oh, see, look, he's doing the thing, right? Think about the people at the time. These cringe fucks would literally gather around the radio and listen, okay, to people talk. This is why I get mad at you guys. And you're like, oh, the video is laggy, or oh, audio desync. then mute the screen, retards, and close your eyes. Pretend it's radio, okay? You should be able to do that.
1900s, it's hard to over-exaggerate how powerful radio was when it first hit, which was not 500 years ago. We're going to get there. We're starting with radio. Radio was invented in the 1890s, but it wasn't until the 1920s that lots of people started having radios in their homes, and by the 1930s, they were cheap and easy to get. And I need you to imagine for a moment how extremely weird this technology must have been. For most people, the radio was the first time in their lives that they heard music without the musician being physically near to them. That was the world less than 100 years ago. But more relevant here, it was the first time that one person's voice could reach millions of people, and it could do that in real time. In fact, at first, it could only do that in real time. This was all happening at the same time as the Great Depression. People had good reasons to be pretty dissatisfied with their situations, and this wasn't just an American thing. Europe was also struggling, especially Germany, which had been hit hard by having to pay reparations to the winners of World War I, though how much that contributed to things is apparently debated by historians, of which I am not one. People were not in great places. There was demand for people.
Imagine not having a strong opinion on every single thing, even without knowing anything about it. Yikes. Not a good look for you.
Wanted things to blame their circumstances on. And for a few reasons, radio was much better at satisfying that demand than newspapers. Newspapers had been around for a long time. They were more expensive. You had to pay for them every time you wanted a new one. There was also more regulation and structure around them. People had built up an understanding that newspapers were sometimes trying to manipulate them, so they had some built-in wariness. Radio, on the other hand, was brand new. It was a one-time investment. You didn't need to be literate, which many people weren't. You didn't need to go into the city to buy a new one every day. And more than anything, it was magical. Like, I have a hard time imagining how new and weird and wonderful it must have been to listen to a charismatic person talk to me from 1,000 miles away, and what a spell that must have cast. And also to know that people all over my country were hearing the same speech at the same time, and that we were all there together experiencing it, millions of us. There were also in the beginning very few legal regulations on radio, and I think just as powerfully, if not more powerfully, there were no mental regulations. There were no norms.
Oh, I also remember, I think this is true, because I feel like I've read this now in multiple history books. I guess just an interesting thing we wouldn't think about, that supposedly during wars in the Middle East, people would send messages to their families to let them know that they're safe or not, or announcements like that over the radio. That you might write a letter to a radio station in Damascus or in Jerusalem or whatever, saying hey, well, I guess I don't know if the Arab states would have done these broadcasts, but I'm hey, this is John with the tall hair and the camel. Just want to let you know, I'm safe. And they would have a segment on these radio stations where they would just kind of read all these messages. And if you're a family member and you're listening, you could tell them shit like that. Yeah. Maybe they did that in other countries too. I'm not sure. I don't know, because radio is fake and lame. No one cares.
Minds were just open to this, to have a person speaking to them. You might go and watch a talk or a debate or something, but otherwise.
Ron was listening to the radio in the Deathly Hallows 2 to listen in on if any of his family members died. Oh. In Deathly Hallows 2. Yikes. Movie watcher identified. Cringe. Destiny, just raw dog a strong opinion right now. Yes or no? Did the Treaty of Versailles cause the rise of the Third Reich? If you ever want to give a bullshit opinion on a thing that you don't know, I should give you guys ask me a bullshit question that I know nothing about, and I'll tell you how to rattle off an answer that always kind of works. But I know a little bit about history, so I feel like it's not as convincing if I do it here. Jesus. Okay, that was a mistake. Too many questions. Okay, fuck it. I'll do this one because I don't even know if these are real companies or if this is even referring to anything real. Who was the better company in 1815? The Hudson Bay Company or the Northwest Company? Were these real companies? I feel like I hear this whenever I listen to people on podcasts talk, I hear these types of statements all the time, but it feels like nobody else recognizes them, and it drives me crazy. And it's one of the reasons why I always try to fixate on give an example. Okay, so so if I wanted to spitball just a total bullshit answer, what I'm thinking of is, what is the most general thing I can say about a company, and then what is the most specific that I can make a statement while still leaving it general enough that it could apply to anything if you knew anything at all about the topic. That's basically what I'm thinking if I'm trying to if I'm doing a joke and I'm trying to bullshit my way through it, right? So who was a better company in 1815, the Hudson Bay Company or the Northwest Company? So I'm probably not going to say, so one, I would make it sound contentious. Okay. Two, I would try to name a specific thing that's still vague about both. And then three, I would leave it up for the listener to decide while still making it seem like I'm somewhat in front of the issue, right? So, and looking at the Hudson Bay Company or the Northwest Company, I think it's actually hard to choose, or it's difficult to choose like what the better company was. I think there's something to be said for how the Hudson Bay, managed their investment in their financials. I think the Northwest Company obviously did a lot more in regards to like labor representation or whatever. And I think that a lot of the things that happened with both of these companies ended up kind of like blowing back to Canadian society in positive ways. But I mean, like, it's hard to say in 1815 which company we would have said is the better company, because obviously, with everything that happened afterwards and the way that it impacted, especially the Hudson Bay Company, I don't know if it's reasonable to say, like Northwest is better in 1815 versus like the Hudson Bay Company or whatever. Like, they're like statements like this. They're like random fucking statements. I don't know. You can make like this, and I hear these on podcasts all the time where I'm listening to something like, you haven't said like a single fucking thing, and it drives me fucking crazy. I don't know. I have no idea, but I don't know anything about these, but. Like with the Treaty of Versailles, where I know a little bit more for history, but I don't know specifically, like, did the Treaty of Versailles cause the rise of the Third Reich? Like, did the Treaty of Versailles cause the rise of the Third Reich? Well, I wouldn't necessarily say that it caused it. There were a whole bunch of other conditions that existed at the time that led to the rise of the Third Reich. I think a lot of these conditions would have probably played into, the ascension of ultimately Hitler into the leader of the Nazi Party, regardless of whether or not the Treaty of Versailles existed or not. But the Treaty of Versailles definitely accelerated things along. It didn't help with any of the situation. I just said like a nothing statement. That doesn't mean anything. Like, nothing that I just said really meant anything. I could know nothing and just say that, and it doesn't. But like, people hear statements like this and they're like, oh yeah, oh this guy, and it drives me crazy. It's call it the Tulsi Gabbard effect. Oh wait, actually, fuck. Yeah, but what if you're wrong and everyone knows that what it does? That only works when the subject is only known by a few experts. Yeah, but all of these things that get discussed on the podcast are like that. Nobody really knows anything about any of these topics, right? Like, that was one of the issues that I gave in our little media mapping thing, right? There's no adherence to a factual reality, or rather, this might be more of the. At the end of the day, many claims are made about things or conditions in the United States the average person can never really verify as being true or untrue. As a result, people can make whatever claims they want to further whatever agenda they want without requiring any of these things to be true or verified. Oftentimes, these claims can be in direct contradiction to other claims as well, even if both are false. Like, yeah, people just don't know about things. You can just basically lie and say whatever the fuck you want. Oh, fuck. I'm trying to remember what we watched.
Yep, there's a lot of bad things.
What do you want me to do? There's a lot of bad people. True.
Because you punish people who don't vote for you. Blah, blah, blah. I mean, there are all sorts of reasons
why. There's a lot of bad things.
True. Sorry. Okay. Fuck. What was it? It was like a trigger. Is it trigonometry? Is it trigonometry? It was Tulsi Gabbard talking to Constantine about Ukraine, and I was shocked because Constantine actually knew more than like absolutely fucking nothing. Now, give the real honest answer to the question, like, what would you want the podcast people to say? What's like a good answer to a thing? I feel like a good answer to a thing. What would be a good answer to a thing? I think it's a thing that encompasses more. The problem is, this sucks, but I almost feel like you have to know. I think you have to know. Because if you don't know, then you don't know what you should know, and you don't know what you don't know, and you have no way. This is why one of the big issues with media today is like, who do you listen to that you trust? And for me, it's almost nobody. I don't know anybody that I would recommend like, oh no, that's not true. There are a few things. I think like Legal Eagle gets it right most of the time. I haven't heard anything dumb or bad from that Brian Tyler Cohen guy, although I'm not thinking just like general political commentary, but like more specific stuff. Yeah. Destiny, 3 points, elaborations on the points. Destiny, this is an easy question and answer. But the problem is you just don't know if you don't know, right? So like, for instance, let's say for the 6-Day War in Israel, okay? Whew, Jesus, my mind has been wiped from so much of this. June 6th, 1967? June 5th, 1967. It was June 6th, Australian time. Who started the 6-Day War? Okay, who started the 6-Day War? So you said 3 facts, right? I could tell you 3 different things on both sides, okay? So I could say the 6-Day War was started by Israel, okay? And what are my facts for this? Well, Nasser's army had been largely overcommitted to a protracted conflict in Yemen, okay? And the Egyptian army was absolutely not ready to fight. That is true, number 1. Number 2, by both Israeli estimates probably and CIA estimates definitely, Israel was slated to, if they got into a conflict, were slated to win it in days, okay? That's true. And 3, Israeli leaders historically had made a number of statements about a desire to expand the territory that they occupied because of fears of how small the territory they had was, and because they were worried constantly. The phrase that shows up in the book so much and the quote so much is the rib cage of Tel Aviv over and over and over again. So those are 3 facts, okay? So I could present those facts. I could flesh each of them out more. And I could say, so Israel started the 6-Day War, right? It's really obvious, okay? Israel wanted that war. They started that war, right? But I could give you other facts on the other side. And I could go, Nasser had made statements about that the next war with Israel would be the end of Israel. He made this to the Arab trade unionists, I think, as a famous speech and quote. Nasser expelled all of the United Nations peacekeeping troops from the Sinai. Okay, he kicked all of them out who were supposed to be there to ensure that war wasn't happening. And he deployed his troops across the Sinai in a way that made it look like they might be ready to fight. Israel had warned, I believe it was Hussein II, or was it Abdullah? Warned the king of Jordan, don't attack us in the West Bank. We don't want to fight you. We don't want to fight in the West Bank. Please don't. They warned him twice, and he still did it. And that Israel was seeking diplomatic resolutions through, God, I forgot the names. Is it Iban? Something Iban was the diplomatic or foreign ambassador, I think the U.S. or something, had been seeking diplomatic solutions in Washington before like an actual war broke out. These are things that are true, right? These things are true. So I could give you true facts on either side. Now, if I were to argue, and I could convincingly argue either of those sides, is it Abba? I think it's Abba Iban, I think. I could convincingly argue either of those sides because I have the historical background to do it or knowledge to do it. But if you're just an ordinary person, you have no idea, how could you come away knowing which one was right? Right? How could you come away knowing, like, oh shit, like that guy made a really good pro-Israel argument, or that guy made a really good pro-Arab argument, right? If you don't know, you don't know, right? You're fucked. So I think that this is my issue right now with a lot of the media stuff. Is one, the topics are usually fairly complicated, like or sophisticated. You need to have like quite a bit of background to even know what's being spoken about, and then to evaluate the statements of the people that are being made. It's frustrating. I wish I had a better answer for you. I'm sorry. It's just hard to give you a good answer on that, because I don't know how you could shortcut your way to just without having like some kind of background level of familiarity with the issue. I don't know how you could shortcut your way into an answer, or into knowing if somebody's giving you a good answer. Then how does a fan know if a commentator is lying or not? Fans who watch Hasan, for example. Well, there's a different level. Hasan doesn't do lies like that. He does a thing that's way more cringe. Like there are heuristics that you can apply to people like him, where it's like, oh, he never watches any of the original material. He never watches or responds directly to criticisms from people that criticize him. Right? These are heuristics that I think are broadly accepted and applicable. Yeah. To be fair, Israel-Palestine is probably the most complex issue. No, I think probably almost well, almost any large-scale conflict in history is going to have tons of different dimensions to it, and it's very hard. Like we learn the child's version of like every story in. We learn a child's version of every story. It's really the same as like scientific models, right? Like a scientific model is never correct. It's just useful, I think is what they say, right? Like if we read, like there are broad stories about what was World War I, what was World War II, but they miss a ton of nuance, right? And I even do this a little bit when I'm arguing with lefties, you know, like was Molotov-Ribbentrop, did I pronounce that correctly? Was that an alliance or was that a neutrality agreement or what, right? Now, if you're a lefty, you'll argue that that was just a non-aggression pact. They weren't allies. They weren't allies at all. That was just non-aggression, okay? That was not, the Soviets, communists would never, ever ally with Nazis. They would never do that, right? And then if I'm trying to get somebody's goose on Twitter, I'll say, that was a fucking alliance, bro. They divided Poland right down the fucking middle, all right? The reality, my guess, without having read too much into it, the reality was probably a lot more complicated than that. My guess is going to be that Nazis and Soviets probably saw each other both as kind of like useful partners for the time being, both knowing that there was probably a time limit on how long an alliance could last for, but that it was probably more convenient to both sides to be allies temporarily rather than fighting over dividing up every piece of land they had. So it was better to cooperate at the moment for both of them because they were both kind of like vying for a thing that was in each other's interest. That's my guess. So the answer is going to be a little bit more in the middle. And that's probably true for a lot of things. You know, why did Germans go after Jews in World War II? A lot of it was fueled by anti-Semitism. A lot of it was probably fueled by the fact that Jews literally do control all the, no, I'm just kidding. But the Jews are in a lot of positions where people look at them and like, why the fuck are all these banker motherfuckers Jewish? Like the fuck? Like where they're in positions where, why are these guys on the outside of all of our societies? I don't like it. I just don't like that Jews aren't like part of us. They don't even try to convert us. The fuck? What's this secret club shit, right? There is probably a bit of cultural resentment there. There's probably a bit of class or economic resentment there. Right? There's a ton of different factors at play all the time. This is another thing why one of the things that I get very upset about when I'm actually like decently read into a particular area, one of the things that I've said in the past, one of the ways that people kind of lie the most is that they lie about magnitude. Oh, I said this about RFK. People will say something that's correct, but they'll give you an incorrect magnitude about the thing. And so it's hard to call them out on their statement. Like RFK will say things like, oh, like heavy metals in our foods or all these things, these are bad for you. And they're causing, you know, like 90% of illnesses or whatever. And it's like, okay, well, these are probably right to some extent, right? There are things that are banned in European foods that aren't banned in our foods, and probably vice versa. Microplastics are probably an issue for sure. Like these are probably things that are bad that we should definitely investigate more and potentially, you know, get out of our food system completely in the future. But like, are they causing the majority of our health problems? Almost certainly not. Almost certainly not. Like I've said this before and I'll say it again. You could probably like improve the health of America 51% by just reducing everybody's BMI by 10. Okay. Everybody that's obese, taken down to 24 or whatever the fuck the health, it's like the start of the healthy ranges, probably that alone, even if they were eating the most heavy metal, fluoride infused, microplastic laden food in the world, their outcomes would probably improve significantly across all domains, except for the amount of plastic in their balls. So, I mean, like, yeah, so that's another thing too, where people will lie, but they're not like totally lying. They're just lying about magnitude. Like, okay, it is true that these are unhealthy, but like, how much does it matter, right? It's like when you see some, you know, DL, do you even lift kid, right? You see some guy who's like, okay, well, I'm fucking up like, I think the reason why I'm fucking my shit up is because I'm not eating in my correct anabolic timing window. Like I lifted yesterday, but I didn't eat a meal until like 6 hours later, and I don't know if my protein time is like, bro, you bench 85 pounds. Like you can literally go into the gym and just stare at the bench press, and you'll probably put on muscle. Like why are you fixated on this shit, right? Like these are things that are maybe worth considering, but magnitude, right? What is the appropriate magnitude? This is some shit that's like nibbling around the 1% edges of what you're talking about. Like RFK and his health stuff, like a lot of people historically, when they talk about anything, like people will take their pet issue that is nibbling around the edges and they'll make it seem like this is what's accounting for 80% of the thing. But yeah, I don't have a good heuristic. Zizek says something about this similar topic that parrots yours. Bro, I listened to Zizek debating Tucker Carlson. I don't even remember. Was it Joe Rogan? I heard Zizek talking to somebody about Ukraine and Russia. And, I don't know why, but it felt like, my God, a sane human being. I wish I could remember what I was listening to, but he was basically just saying like, yeah, Zizek was like, how the fuck are you Americans sucking off Putin? This is an unbelievable, like, you guys are crazy. This is clearly the bad guy. If there was ever, maybe it was on Piers, yeah. I'm paraphrasing a lot, but. Okay, sorry. What are the broader implications for this and how people should interact with alternative media? You can't just ignore opinions, but you also can't verify every single one. I don't know, man. Somebody emailed me this, and I thought it was a good thing, but this is like a pipe dream fantasy of mine, and it'll never come true, which is 3 dudes. I'm just kidding. I wish that everybody would be open with their research. Like, if you think that I'm biased, or if you think that, you know, I can't trust Destiny on the things that he says, whatever, like, somebody can literally link you a stream, or they can link you my notes and then go like, oh, you think that Destiny's biased on a certain issue or whatever? Okay, well, here, like, this is what he thinks about the 6-Day War. Or this is what he thinks about the Yom Kippur War. This is what he thinks about this person, right? And you can go link my notes. You can link my stream. Oh, we've seen what he reads. We know what he consumes. We know where these opinions come from. We literally watch it all happening. Now, is it fair that I would say that every single person should, you know, have to live stream their whole thought process on everything? I mean, probably not. But I don't like that people will just, you know, link like, oh, well, here's 7 books you should read on the topic. And it's like, motherfucker, you haven't even read the intro wiki page. You haven't even read the intro wiki article on this topic. Why the fuck are you linking a whole ass book? So I don't know. That would be helpful, just so I could see how people learn things. Because I really want to know, like, how people come to conclusions sometimes. Because you must have had some, like, you must have had some wild shit in order to come to this conclusion. Yeah. Jesus. Okay, open works. Okay, we have to finish this video that we're 3 minutes into. Fuck you.
The same time, we were all there together experiencing it, millions of us. There were also in the beginning very few legal regulations on radio, and I think just as powerfully, if not more powerfully, there were no mental regulations. There were no norms. People's minds were just open to this, to have a person speaking to them. You might go and like watch a talk or a debate or something, but otherwise the only people talked to were their friends. And this was a new way that strangers, powerful, charismatic strangers, could speak to you. For example, Father Coughlin, who was one of the first radio preachers, and he tapped into specifically this dissatisfaction. He connected with and empathized with normal, everyday, ordinary Americans. He spoke about elitist power structures, the banks, the inequality, and not all, but certainly some of the Jews. Atheistic Jews, communist Jews. Millions of people listened to these broadcasts. He was an extraordinarily powerful figure in the US, and as Hitler rose to power in Germany, in part because he was also super savvy at using the radio to communicate with the common people of Germany, Father Coughlin spoke about him with great appreciation.
Okay, wait, a real quick thing. First of all, fuck you. But secondly, just on the point that he's saying, something that is, it's funny and ironic and sad, I think, like, all at the same time. There's a famous, like, video inspirational quote. Also, I'm kind of doing this on like a meta level 3 because I haven't even seen the movie, so maybe I'm wrong. Somebody can correct me if I'm wrong.
Q Howard.
Oh, that's another thing I say. I say that a lot too. If I'm wrong, somebody correct me or email me. I read emails from people. I bring out. Yeah, I do shit. I think that's a good heuristic. Like, is a person willing to correct themselves?
I don't have to tell you things are bad. Everybody knows things are bad. It's a depression. Everybody's out of work or scared of losing their job. The dollar buys a nickel's worth. Banks are going bust. Shopkeepers keep a gun under the counter. Punks are running wild in the street, and there's nobody anywhere who seems to know what to do, and there's no end to it. We know the air is unfit to breathe, and our food is unfit to eat. We sit watching our TVs while some local newscaster tells us that today we had 15 homicides and 63 violent crimes, as if that's the way it's supposed to be. We know things are bad, worse than bad. They're crazy. It's like everything everywhere is going crazy, so we don't go out anymore.
So, like, people link this as, like, this guy's, like, a truth sayer, or, like, damn, this guy's, like, got it. Like, this, I wonder if, yeah, like, wow, $1 buys a nickel's worth, $100 buys a nickel's worth. Wow, yeah, oh, my God. The year is 2024. This movie was recorded in 1971. Listen to this man as he acts. The culture from 1971 was screaming the exact same thing the culture from 2024 is. Realize it with me, please. This is so unbelievably relevant today. My understanding is, and again, somebody correct me if I'm wrong, my understanding is that this guy in this movie, the whole point was he was just trying to, like, get, like, faux outrage to make people watch him on TV. Like, the whole point is he's just trying to stir shit up so that people are, like, interested and watch him, right? Like, that's like, I think that's, like, part of the point of this movie. But people will listen to it, and then they take this seriously and, like, oh shit, this guy's but so they're like in a super meta way, Like, he's supposed to be tricking the people in the fictitious world that what he's saying is like relevant and important in order for people to listen to and like his message. And now people in the nonfiction world are listening to just an excerpt of it, and they're falling for the message that he was trying to sell to the fictional world. So in a way, we've become, if this isn't hyper reality, I don't know what it is, right? We've become like the fictional audience that he's speaking to. It's just, yeah, I don't know. That's just a very, listen. Yeah, I do like, Charlie Kaufman. Problem? Blame Adam, okay? Sorry, okay.
Hitler rose to power in Germany, in part because he was also super savvy at using the radio to communicate with the common people of Germany. Father Coughlin spoke about...
Fuck. Sorry, fuck. Okay, I'm sorry. That was just a really good quote in chat. And I hate the fact that nobody understands this. And everybody knows this in movies and shit, right? I can't remember anything that has ever been fixed in a fit of rage. True, Sophia. And we know that in movies, too. Whenever people get scared or they're doing crazy things, it's never good. But in real life... people are like, oh shit, we are very scared and upset right now. And like, this is definitely the right thing to do. We need to follow the guy who's making us the most afraid. Like, okay.
Germany, in part because he was also super savvy at using the radio to communicate with the common people of Germany. Father Coughlin spoke about him with great appreciation and interest. I'm simplifying a ton here, but there's something happening here. It is a post-media revolution rise in populism. And it happens pretty much every time there's a media revolution. But populism begins not as the ideology, but the market. I'm seeing people get...
True. Slightly off topic, but did you and Adam Freeland end the podcast on good terms? Yeah, I think we're chill. They all texted me. We all had a giant blow bang at the end. We all talked about leftist politics. I'm like 20% more socialist, okay?
Begins not as the ideology, but the market. I'm seeing people get this wrong all over the place right now. Populism is not an ideology, it's a marketing strategy. I see your real human problems, and I also see who is causing them. All of the institutions that are impenetrable and imperfect, but also the people those institutions are secretly supporting at your expense, or controlled by to your detriment. And if you listen to me, we will solve all the problems with a number of new policies. But sometimes populism actually becomes the policy. It goes from being the message to being what we're going to do. Here are the bad guys. The policy is get rid of them.
Oh shit, fuck, who the fuck linked this? I would just assume, if I was listening to my stream earlier, I would assume that I watched this and I totally just stole his message, because this is exactly what I was getting at with Bernie Sanders earlier, where because I said earlier on stream, Bernie Sanders is a populist, but he doesn't want to like burn down the whole fucking system. He wants some big reforms and stuff, but he still wants to work within our institutions and everything. Yeah, but so like the populist message of Bernie Sanders wasn't he didn't have a populist policy plan. But for a lot of people, especially on the right, populism has become both the marketing strategy and the policy plan, right? They're ignoring the incredibly wise advice from Hillary Clinton. You have a public position and you have a private position. God, how old is she? What is the pathway of guests that I need to have Hillary Clinton on Bridges? My queen! I should have never, ever, ever doubted you. Fuck. Moment of silence. She probably should have never said that. Well, it was in a private thing or whatever, and it got leaked or whatever, but that full quote is, fuck. I think it's only in writing, right? I'm not gonna be able to find it. But basically, I think she was talking about Lincoln, Abraham Lincoln, and how you've got things that you work towards privately really aggressively, and then you've got ways that you message on it publicly, but you have a personal private position for everything you're fighting for. But it can't always just be the most extreme thing. You can't always just get exactly what you want. You have to fight for those things that you want, and publicly, you present like more moderated positions on your journey there or whatever. You have to navigate. Politics is an art, unfortunately, yeah, but
actually becomes the policy. It goes from being the message to being what we're going to do. Here are the bad guys. The policy is get rid of the bad guys. That's what happened with Father Coughlin. It's what happened with Nazi Germany. Father Coughlin actually started to advocate for the U.S. to work with Nazi.
Somebody said network was not about what Destiny said. Sorry, some people in the chat are saying apparently the guy was being genuine, but it was the network that was manipulating him in order to get more views for the show. So there you go. That doesn't really change my message, but just to be clear on that. There you go. Okay.
That's what happened with Father Coughlin. It's what happened with Nazi Germany. Father Coughlin actually started to advocate for the U.S. to work with Nazi Germany. He was an extremely harsh critic of FDR. He began to say very Nazi-like things about what Americans should do to Jews. But as the tensions between the U.S. and Germany rose, that became untenable.
True. Sorry. Also, people are saying, Destiny, imagine a Hillary foreign policy instead of Biden. It is so funny to me when people are saying like, oh, like nobody would respect a woman around the world. And they would respect Trump, when like Hillary Clinton is seen as like the fucking reason why why Gaddafi got, fucking raked with a bayonet or whatever, and why Putin is like so ass pained over like Obama in the United States. Like, I'm pretty sure Hillary is incredibly heavily associated with shit like that. And people are, yeah, and it's just funny, like, oh no, they would never respect, I don't know. It's cringe.
And the public and the government persuaded radio stations to stop carrying his broadcasts. Even though Coughlin remained popular, FDR basically said, no, this guy cannot talk to the American people anymore. This isn't print, it's radio, it's new, it's a limited public resource, it's a spectrum that we can't fit everything on, and this is one of the things we can't fit on it. And I think this was a fairly clear violation of the freedom of speech. Father Coughlin drifted into obscurity, he became a normal priest again, he died the year before I was born. So people are thinking, probably, right now, okay, so Trump is like the Coughlin of the internet age, or like the Hitler of the internet age, and like, a little bit, like you can see it in there, like the alignment with people's legitimate grievances, the railing against every institution from public schools to doctors, the use of a new, somewhat magical, unregulated communications technology to name those threats and label who is responsible for them as
true. Wait, have you come around to thinking that Obama had the worst foreign policy in this century other than Bush? Maybe. So here's what I'll say about Obama. Was Obama's foreign policy good? I don't think I would ever say yes to that. However, I would say that Obama's foreign policy was probably incredibly heavily constrained by Iraq. Like, I think that I think a large part of that election was a referendum on how the American sentiment had shifted so heavily against the Iraq war. Like, I think that was probably already happening in 2004 when Bush won re-election. But by 2008, I think we were really mind-fucked on anything having to do with the Middle East. And like, I don't know when the Afghanistan papers, if those had come out yet, but Iraq and Afghanistan, we were just like, fuck all this shit. Like, get us the fuck out of any of this. So like, yeah, so like, was Obama's foreign policy good? I don't think I would say that. But was it solely his fault? I think that it was probably going to be a product of, where America was at the time after Iraq and everything. But yeah.
As the enemy. Trump is the product of a post-media revolution rise in populism. I don't think...
Have you tried getting Hank on Bridges? No, I was going to make a tweet about him. Hank tweeted something. I never know how to do this without, but I don't want to seem like cringe or soy. Because Hank tweeted something. I think I said something about how we need to eject far leftists because they're too extreme and they don't support the party. And then I think Hank replied to me and he was like, didn't you make fun of the firefighter exploding dude? And then I responded back with like, when I say extreme or toxic, I mean, I don't support the candidate. And then he deleted his tweets. And then I saw a bunch of people trying to blow him up on Twitter. I disagreed with Hank's point there, but I think these guys do good content. I like both of these guys. They're fine. I wish that there was a way for people to disagree with me without you guys going fucking crazy. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, there's probably things we're going to disagree on politically, especially about playing nice to people. But I think all of their content is really good. Actually, these are one of the few guys I think that I would recommend because they dip into multiple topics too, and they're not usually cringe when they do it. Like some people dip into other topics and they're just so stupid and horrible. But yeah, I think the Vlogbrothers are generally pretty good when they talk about other things.
And label who is responsible for them as the enemy.
He was a bit passive aggressive, but it wasn't that bad. I mean, like he might have been a little bit, but like for Twitter, I don't think he was like horrible. But okay, sorry.
Trump magical unregulated communications technology to name those threats and label who is responsible for them as the enemy. Trump is the product of a post-media revolution rise in populism. I don't think anyone would argue with that. It does not mean that he was the same guy as Coughlin or Hitler. But it is interesting that he is a product of a phenomenon that we have seen before. But also, he's not like these other guys in another way, because I don't think that radio is the best analogy for the internet. Radio and TV are centralizing, whereas the internet is decentralizing. What do I mean? Well, to make a radio station, you need advanced technology, lots of money, you need permission. It's very easy to regulate because there are only so many radio frequencies, and governments actually had to quite quickly move in and regulate who would have access to them, or stations would constantly be overlapping with each other, or the most powerful, wealthiest person could just take up the whole radio spectrum. Television has been the same. There were only so many channels, each tightly regulated. They're very extensive to run, and at the beginning, there was only space for 3 or 4 of them. This media revolution, because it was so centralizing, was a force that actually ended up being quite useful for bringing America and other countries together.
Why do people place so much importance on whether a leader is respected or perceived as strong by other world leaders? Aren't most negotiations primarily conducted by cabinet members and specialized diplomats? Ultimately, aren't we just leveraging trade agreements and economic strategies to achieve our goals? I mean, like, kind of, yeah. I mean, it's important to be perceived as strong, I think, but whether or not you're strong or weak isn't about whether you're a guy or a girl. That's just like, the problem is people who talk about like, oh, is this seen as a strong leader? Usually they have like a 4-year-old mentality about it, right? And this also goes into a lot of like the false masculinity stuff that people have too, right? People see a guy who's like, you know, screaming in a room and pounding his chest. It's like, God, that dude is like super masculine. Holy fuck. Like, this is a guy that's just like, God damn, he's got it. But like everybody that knows is looking like this guy is insecure as fuck. Like, Jesus, that's so cringe. Who was the guy? we're just going to say Winston Churchill for everybody, although I think it was Teddy Roosevelt. Is it walk softly but carry a big stick? Yeah, projecting, like Golda Meir was the first woman head of state, I believe, of any major country in Israel. And, was it Roosevelt? And she was the prime minister in Israel in the 6-Day War and in the Yom Kippur War in 67 and 73, I believe. She was a woman against Arabs who at that point in time, and maybe even today a little bit, didn't like women that much. So the idea that like, strong man, weak woman, or what, it's just cringe. I don't know. There is no single world leader that sees Donald Trump as a strong president or a strong man. Like, that's just not the case. I'm so sorry, but that is just absolutely not true. Donald Trump comes off, to anybody that has any level of confidence or esteem, Donald Trump comes off as incredibly insecure and incredibly weak. Like, there's a reason why he responded like so meekly to Kamala's just random personal attacks against him, or why he needs to have the biggest audience, or he needs to have the biggest crowd, and he needs to lie and say he won. He actually did win. Guys, in 2016, he did win that election's popular vote. Even though he won the election, it wasn't, he had to say it was rigged for the popular vote as well, and it was illegal immigrants. That, like, it's so cringe.
Reducing the number of voices that could be heard, thus silencing many marginal perspectives. But eventually TV did start to fracture until we got multiple news channels from different perspectives. First, Fox News with its more right-wing nationalist perspectives, then MSNBC with a more progressive left-wing perspective.
Hold on. His strength is just being a bully? No. Well, kind of, but I want to be very clear here. Donald Trump is a bully in the traditional sense that people are bullies in ordinary life. Generally, bullies are people that bully people that are weaker than them. That's what a bully is. And that's what Trump's problem is. Because if Trump was, you know what, especially at this point in my life and in my personal political development, you know what? Fucking A, I'm here for an American hawkish foreign policy at this point, because the world is getting a little bit wacky right now. And I think there are a few people that need to get slapped upside the head if they're on some retarded shit, okay? I like that when the Houthis started doing shit to ships in the Middle East, that Biden was like, oh, well, here's the USS, fuck your ass, and we are going to precision annihilate every single, surface to surface, surface to sea, whatever the fuck missile station you have here. They're all gone now. Fuck you, okay? I appreciated that. So if Donald Trump was like that, fuck it, I'm here for it. Donald Trump is not like that. Donald Trump is a bully, and that if he thinks there's like a political target that he can attack that will like strengthen his support in his party, or if he can get rid of somebody who's like inconvenient to him, he'll do it. But Donald Trump is not a bully in the sense that he's like a strong hawkish foreign policy, or even like a strong American-centric foreign policy. That's just not true. More people died in Afghanistan under Donald Trump than they did under Biden. More people, the Russian troops attacked Ukrainian troops like directly head on in the most obvious way for the first time ever under Trump's presidency, and nothing happened. He didn't do fuck all about it. I don't know. It's just, it's cringe. Fuck me. Okay, don't care.
From different perspectives. First, Fox News with its more right-wing nationalist perspectives, then MSNBC with a more progressive left-wing perspective. But even then, TV was a relatively centralizing force because so much of it was available. And there were lots of rules and regulations that had built up over the years. The internet isn't like this. It is the opposite of this. But there has been another media revolution very much like this. The first one, the printing press. The movable type printing.
Sorry, fuck. Responding a lot to chat today. Destiny, can't really blame us when most people who tweet at you with that tone actually fucking despise you and are openly antagonistic towards you. We can't be expected to do the same level of mind reading you do with your guests when their fans probably had cuck fantasies about you already typed up and ready to be copy pasted and tweeted uninhibited. Cut us some slack. You know what? I get it. Yeah, I kind of understand that. One thing that I'll think about this more in the future, or talk about this more in the future. I'm like super handcuffed by, I think I live a little bit too much in perceptions of me. I mean, obviously I'm a streamer, so I have to. But it's very hard for me to put like restrictions or make requests of other people or other streamers or other content creators, because obviously people say like, oh, he's trying to control them, or he's manipulating them, or it's the white blood cells or whatever. But I think it's probably unacceptable. Hold on. That was probably the most cuck statement I've ever said in my life. Hold on. It is unacceptable that I deal with people who basically allow those things to be said, like uninhibited in their community about me. I think that is probably not an acceptable thing, because I would never allow that in my community. That if I was dealing and if it happens, you get aggressively banned for it. And the idea that when I'm talking to somebody, it's like, okay, well, it's cool with him, and like I understand why his whole fan base is calling me, like these insane like Nazi, cuck destroyer, or whatever, or cuck, I guess, whatever the fuck. That that's just his audience. But the idea that none of these people have to hold their audience accountable for fucking anything is kind of cringe, yeah. Wouldn't be cuck destroyer, it would be something else.
The opposite of this. But there has been another media revolution very much like this. The first one, the printing press. The movable type printing press, at least the version used in Europe, was invented by a guy named Johannes Gutenberg to solve the problem of every book in Europe being written by hand, which does seem like a difficult way to do things. For a long time after Gutenberg started making Bibles, no one really knew what to do with print technologies. Books were big and expensive, and there just wasn't that much demand for them. That demand was mostly soaked up by the most powerful institutions out there, which is largely the Catholic Church, the only church of note in Europe. But then a guy had an idea.
We need to curate a list of people then. Bruh, chat retarded, Hank Green, a bad guy, what the fuck, they'll attack potholer. I think didn't I have like a list of content creators and I'm like, these guys are cool, I recommend these guys. Wait, God, fuck, I'm never happy with the way that I organize my folders. Recommended news sources. These guys are all cool. We'll throw on... Is it Hank and Tom Green? What's his brother's name? Oh, John Green. Tom Green is a comedian. Okay. Throw Econo Boy in there as well. Maybe we'll throw on Brian Tyler Cohen later. We haven't field tested him enough yet. He might be on some wild shit. We'll see. Okay. All right. Sorry. 8.5 minutes. Okay. It's only taken us 3 hours. We're doing it, guys.
Out there, which is largely the Catholic Church, the only church of note in Europe. But then a guy had an idea. He, like lots of other people, did not like how the dominant system was operating. And there had been many arguments about that over the years. But instead of just talking about it, he went to a printer and he said, hey, print me 105-page pamphlets. And that was way easier for the printer than making a whole book. It was cheap. The printing press was already there. All they needed was the paper and the ink. This guy's name was Martin Luther. And you might know him from one of the things he made, Lutheranism. People could pay just a little bit for a pamphlet like that, and you'd actually make quite a lot of money as a printer doing it. You could create an economy around that. Printers, in their off time, could just print up a bunch of Martin Luther's pamphlets and sell them themselves. Martin Luther, interestingly, just like everyone on Twitter, didn't actually make any money selling these pamphlets. It was the people with the presses who got paid, and Luther was just doing it because he wanted to get his message out. Familiar. And again, I have to try and get in touch with how weird this must have felt to the people at the time. Books were big and expensive, and for hundreds of years, the ideas of a normal person owning one would have been ludicrous. And so almost all of the people who were printing anything were really big, powerful institutions. But now, there was this thing that was like a book, and it had ideas. Ideas that weren't the ideas of the powerful people who controlled the books. They were new ideas from a guy who wasn't particularly powerful.
Jesus, okay. It really does sound like I stole I swear to God, I didn't watch this video in advance. I feel like this was my whole... I shouldn't have even said anything at the start of the stream. We should just watch this video.
Powerful people really didn't like these ideas. And it seems that Martin Luther realized that the more inflammatory his writing got, the more people wanted to buy the pamphlets, and the more printers wanted to print them. And to be fair, the institutions of the time were not undeserving of critique. Now, Martin Luther was not the only person who printed pamphlets like these, but he was very good at it. I didn't really understand this for the first couple of decades after knowing that Martin Luther existed and that the Reformation was a thing, but this guy was a social media influencer, and he was also not chill. He was a reckless guy. You might not be super surprised to hear this, but he hated Jews. During a peasant rebellion, which was in part actually inspired by his work, he called on landowners to just kill the peasants, likening them to dogs that needed to be put down. Somewhere between 100,000 and 300,000 of them were killed. He called the Pope the Antichrist. He was not a chill guy with the rhetoric, is all I'm saying, though it should be said several times, the Catholic Church in the 16th century was worse. Just absolutely very bad. I don't feel like I necessarily need to get into it, but pretty evil. And also, in addition to being inflammatory, Martin Luther was an exceptional theologian. His arguments were...
Okay, wait, hold on. Fuck me. My inner Catholic is coming out. Was the Catholic Church in like the Middle Ages and then coming into the 1700s, was the Catholic Church evil, or were they just like another quasi-monarchy ruler kind of kingdom thing at the time. Like, the Catholic Church definitely wasn't what I would want it to be, but like everybody around that time was like pretty dog shit, no? Like, weren't they all kind of like fucking horrible? They were all evil maxing? Oh no, they were kind of evil maxing. Were they evil maxing compared to everyone else at the time? Do you know about indulgences? Yeah. What about them? They're based. It just means rich people get all their sins forgiven.
That's part of the reason why he was so popular back then, and indeed remains fairly popular now. And again, there were at first, because it was also new, no regulations on this new form of media in law, and just as importantly, none in the minds of people. And there were regulations on calling the Pope the Antichrist, and Martin Luther was excommunicated, but he did manage to survive, which is amazing to me. Like, he lived. I would love someone to explain to me how he was not just killed. But when you look at the details of this, it is all much more Twitter screaming match than I had first imagined it would be. It was very conversational. People were mad at each other, and they wrote pamphlets back and forth, and they hated each other. They were just mean. Erasmus was a friend and also eventual rival of Martin Luther, and in his last ever letter to Martin Luther, he wrote, "What distresses me, as it distresses all decent people."
Does Justin even read this chat? No. I only read it every 20 minutes when I have a bot type. Does he read this chat? And then I do read this chat. There has to be like a bot command. Nightbot has to do a thing where like, yes, I do read this chat. I read all my chats, always, okay? I just don't always respond to everything that's said. If you really want me to see it, make sure to tag my name.
Is the fact that because of your arrogant, insolent, and turbulent personality, you cause a fatal dissension that unsettles the whole world. You expose good men and lovers of the humanities to the fury of the Pharisees, and you arm wicked and rebellious men for revolution. There is a similarity between Martin Luther and Father Coughlin and Donald Trump and many other anti-establishment populists who rose to power after media revolutions. And it is that they all were, if nothing else, reckless. As a person who has a fairly significant platform and is often terrified that I will say something that is incorrect or will have an overall negative impact on the world, this is kind of hard for me to understand. But Martin Luther did not like that his words had resulted in armed conflict and death, but he simply could not stop talking. He felt that he was right, and of course, about many things he was, and that was far more important to him than any potential unintended consequences. Tearing down the corrupt institutions of the Catholic Church resulted in a
My alto sax is Kohlingers? What model do you have? Absolutely not. I have a reference 54. Get fucked. Fuck you, Complex. Post, pics, or a ban.
complete fracturing of their hegemony. Any potential unintended consequences. Tearing down the corrupt institutions of the Catholic Church resulted in a complete fracturing of their hegemony, and there's basically nothing that has happened since in European history that was not influenced by that. Was the Reformation entirely caused by the printing press? Of course not. There were many factors that happened all at the same time. Enough people, for example, needed to be able to read for it to happen, and that took a long time to occur. But I don't think anybody's out there arguing that it wasn't an important piece of the puzzle. So there's something happening over and over again here in like weirdly the same way, which is that there are big institutions that kind of make society work, and they're always some level of imperfect. And when there is a media revolution, really any time, whether it's radio or newspapers or pamphlets, there is a rise in populism. It helps when there are other problems going on at the same time, like, for example, a bunch of post-pandemic inflation, or the Catholic Church is maybe overextending its reach a little bit by selling the ability to get into heaven, or there's a Great Depression. But the media revolution plays an important role. We got to get it out of our heads. And I have this problem too, that this somehow aligns with current political ideologies.
Sorry, random, but what's so grateful about a 75% mechanical keyboard? I don't know what that means. It's like a keyboard that only has 75% of the keys, or only 75% of the keys are mechanical switches. What?
Of the left and right in the US. But in general, there are times when it is more from the left, and by which I mean that the enemy that has created all of the problems are the wealthy, who gather the power around themselves and use it to control everyone else. And then there are times when the populism is more right-wing, when the enemy is the group with like an unaligned cultural identity, whether that's immigrants or Jews.
75% is the size of a full keyboard numpad removed. I feel like I've never heard that before in my entire life. I've heard of 10 keyless or TKL, but I don't think I've ever heard it described as a 75% keyboard. I don't know. I like the numpad. I think it's good for data entry, but...
or another race or something like that. Nationalistic populism or socialistic populism. But honestly, populism is about marketing, so these things blend together. Populism in America right now is clearly from the right. It's from the right-wing political party, but it has a sting of socialistic populism, where people deserve support as long as they are the right people. The people who have built those systems are the cultural elites. Not necessarily the wealthy precisely, but certainly some of them are wealthy, and certainly they are like the high-status caste of soft-skinned, overeducated wine drinkers. But it's not like there's nothing to attack. It's not like there's no problems. Anti-establishment populism at this moment was inevitable, both because our systems are imperfect and people's situations are not great, and because of this intense decentralized media revolution. Like, we need to remember that this shift to authoritarians is not a post-COVID phenomenon. This is an internet phenomenon. Imagine Donald Trump without Twitter. You can't. I think...
True. I have no idea what model saxophone this is, but it's lacquered in... This is a black lacquered horn. I always wanted one lacquered in like blue, like sapphire blue or whatever. Wait, sapphires are blue, right? But it would have been so tacky, but I don't give a fuck. It would have been beautiful. Read the inscription. I don't know if I can read it. Pit custom class something New York, London. Am I supposed to know who this is? Am I losing my saxophone credentials? Purirat? Punimimuad? I don't know what the fuck this is. It's a P. Mariat. Okay, I don't know if they make good horns or not. They might. I have no idea. But, okay.
I mean, I know that the bureaucracies of today are better and more transparent than those of the 1930s, or especially 1470, but they are imperfect. Obviously, there are real problems in our society, whether that's how easy it is to get unhealthy food or how hard it is to get good medical treatment or childcare. There are lots of real reasons to be pissed off. Communication is what we do. It is the thing that makes us human. And when a technology like the social internet hits, it's a big deal. Back when print happened, it was the first time any person who did not have a huge amount of power could use a nonverbal form of communication on a lot of other people. And then when radio happened, it was the first time one person could reach millions at the same time. Now, we've lowered that print barrier so far that it isn't just like some overeducated priest like Martin Luther who has access. It's everybody. And it's not just one person who can access millions, it's millions who can access millions. It's everyone who can access everyone. It is entirely unprecedented in the human story. And
True. You're nice at piano, but will you like nice at sax? I was a better saxophone player than I was a piano player, not even close. But to the layman, I would probably sound like I was a better piano player than I was a saxophone player, because it's really, really, really hard to sound good on a solo instrument and especially on a horn. But like even for violin or viola or whatever, it's just hard to sound good playing a single line instrument. It's so difficult. So I was a much better sax player than piano player, but piano is really easy to sound good on. You push the key and it makes the noise and you're good.
We don't have the tools to deal with it. We have this many-to-many communication and this really intense collaboration between ingenious humans who want to capture attention and recommendation algorithms that reward whoever is doing it the best. So things are gonna get flipped. They get flipped because first, we have very few legal regulations, and second, we have no regulations in our minds. We do not have the techniques to deal with the powerful spell that these systems are casting on our brains. I don't think the mechanisms here are super opaque, but maybe it's worth outlining that if you ask a newspaper reporter to go and tell you some problems with the FDA, you're gonna need to wait 6 months while they put together a clear, cogent story about something that could be better in the world. If you ask a traditional bureaucrat to try and fix something at the FDA, they're going to come back in 4 years with a list of things that need to be done and a much longer list of why you can't do that, if you ask.
When we were reading this, I think this is the first Federalist paper. I was like, oh, this is kind of cool shit. It was probably Federalist number 15. There were a lot of quotes from this yesterday that had to do with why a federal government was important, but it maps on very cleanly to a lot of the arguments that I've made about freedom of speech, because people keep repeating this stupid thing over and over again that, oh, we just need more speech, and more speech means that the best opinions will rise to the top, and we just need more, and then it'll there are, I think I ripped 3 quotes from this, but this middle one that it at all times betrayed an ignorance of the true springs by which human conduct is actuated, and belied the original inducements to the establishment of civil power. Why has government been instituted at all? Because the passions of men will not conform to the dictates of reason and justice without constraint. Has it been found that bodies of men act with more rectitude or greater disinterestedness than individuals? The contrary of this has been inferred by all accurate observers of the conduct of mankind, and the influence is founded upon obvious reasons. Regard to reputation has a less active influence when the infamy of a bad action is to be divided among a number than when it is to fall singly upon one. A spirit of faction, which is apt to mingle its poison in the deliberations of all bodies of men, will often hurry the persons of whom they are composed into improprieties and excesses for which they would blush in a private capacity. Just this idea that if you get big groups of people together and they're doing shit, they're always going to do retarded shit, okay? There are a lot of quotes from this. I think I ended up ripping 3, but probably that whole thing. It was the longest one we've read so far, but there are a lot of quotes from this Federalist 15 that are good ones about stupid groups of people. Or said more succinctly, the philosopher K.
RFK Jr. to tell you what's wrong with the FDA. He's going to tell a cogent story about something that could be better in the world. If you ask a traditional bureaucrat to try and fix something at the FDA, they're going to come back in 4 years with a list of things that need to be done and a much longer list of why you can't do that. If you ask RFK Jr. to tell you what's wrong with the FDA, he's going to do it on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and 4 different podcasts by the end of the day. Will he have prioritized accuracy or actionable implementation? No. He will have prioritized getting views on content, and he will have achieved that goal because RFK Jr. is working in collaboration with recommendation algorithms, and he is very good at that. And a really good way to do it is to tell individual ordinary people that they are being preyed upon by large, powerful institutions. There's this period of time after a communication revolution where our minds are just like open and ready to have these magic spells cast upon them. It's so hard to remember how new this is and how magical it is. This ability for everyone to communicate with everyone. This is the worst possible example, but it's the one coming to mind right now. we live in a world where Hawk to a girl is possible. And that's new. And people who see massive problems with the world, or like a clear path to power and status, or let's be honest, probably both, are going to use that. I know two brothers who have used that, just I hope not as recklessly as some. And when the system is decentralized and automated and operating at the speed of light and optimized to grab and hold attention like no communication system ever has been in the history of humanity, the system is going to select and share the stuff that sticks. And when the story doesn't actually need to be true, because why would it need to be true? Who's got the time to fact check all of this stuff? One very compelling story is this. The systems are bad and they are designed.
True. He's hitting a lot of my media points. Yeah, that it's good that a lot of people are coming together and realizing this, that there is no adherence to truth. You don't have to be correct, and human minds don't pick for things that are true. We don't necessarily favor a true thing over a false thing. There have to be downstream, second or third order things. Like, just because something's wrong isn't enough. It has to be wrong and like manifest in the world in a way that it has to manifest in the world at all, and then it has to manifest in a way that, because of the incongruence between what is right and what is wrong, it hurts us in some way, and we're able to realize that it's hurting us in some way because of that incorrect thing we think. There's like so many things that have to go on in order for a wrong thing to even matter. Yeah.
Designed by people who are bad to help people who don't deserve it while ignoring the people who do deserve it. That is, as far as I can tell, what's going on here, and it is the populist message generally. There is demand, a lot of demand for that kind of content. And as I have often said, on today's internet, any content that will be consumed will be created. Before the internet, and also right now, like a lot of society is built on trust. Like this is a complicated world. We can't keep all of it in our heads at the same time. Nobody is going to know everything. We have to trust that there are people who understand the way that the roads work, people who understand how the voting works, people who understand how clinical trials work, and that all those people are worthy of trust because one person can't know all of those things.
Yes, true. Okay, he's a secret DGGer. He must be. But this is harkening back to when I would scream. Well, I mean, it's not harkening back to me, but like, yeah, when I would say like the only way society works is if you trust other people. You don't have time to verify independently every single thing. This is why it was so fucking stupid. When I asked him, God, fuck me, dude, what a stupid fucking conversation.
Relevant and worth.
I think I asked him, like, how do you know your car is not going to explode? And then he's like, well, because I started it yesterday. And I'm like, okay, what about the first time you turn a car on? Bro, come on. Have to trust third parties to some extent.
I don't trust them. I looked at the bloody data.
First of all, you have to trust third parties to some extent. When you go, what did he just say? I trust the data? That's a third party. You're not getting it all yourself, right? What a stupid answer. Sorry. Longitudinal, perspective, randomized control trials.
You mean like the ones they should have done to the goddamn vaccines?
Like the ones that they did do for the vaccines, and they continue to do to this day. Yes, that is correct.
Yeah.
Yes,
you really
correct.
think that you're in a position to evaluate the scientific credibility of the trials for the vaccines, do you?
No, I don't. So I have to trust.
Then what are you doing? I don't trust them. I looked at the bloody data.
First of all, you have to trust third parties to some extent. When you go outside,
I don't have to trust.
Of course you do. You do every day. When you turn the keys in your car, you hope your engine doesn't explode. When you're drinking water, you hope that the public water or whatever tap or bottled water you got it out of isn't contaminated or poisoned with cholera.
I don't do that as a consequence of consensus.
No, of course you do.
No, I don't. I do that as a consequence of observing multiple times that when I put the goddamn key in the ignition, the truck started.
Why? But how do you know it starts? What a recursively stupid thing to say. How do you know that it starts the first time? Or you don't think something could explode on the 10th or 100th time? Like, it's such a stupid fuck. I'm so upset that I was so gentle in this conversation. This should have been I should have been so much more aggressive. How do you know it's going to start the 50th or the 100th time? How many times do you... Or the first time. I should have said the first time. But I mean, either way is valid. It's so...
With me.
I'm
you know
not
perfectly
playing
well
Hugh.
why.
You don't know if the denim in those... Oh my God. But anyway, yeah. Yeah. You have to trust third parties. You do. Society is too complicated. Unless you want to go back to being like a hunter-gatherer where we all learn like every single job, right? Like how...
Voting works, people who understand how clinical trials work, and that all those people are worthy of trust because one person can't know all of those things. That is the whole thing that has allowed humans to get to where we are, is to share that labor. John, I'm editing this video.
Hold on. Also, how is Jordan any more qualified than Destiny for looking at the data that isn't in his field or study or field of study? Well, not only that, but like even by accepting that the data is like is collected correctly, you're already trusting the people that did the data acquisition. You're trusting the people who chose to even gather that data. You're trusting the people that published that data. You're like, that's not even getting to the fact that you're trusting the labs, okay, that are even, if you're talking animal testing, you're trusting the lab techs to write the data down correctly, the people that are verifying or auditing the process. Like, yes.
And I have realized that there are two things that I need to add here. The first is that we cannot just trust these things. There needs to be some checks. There needs to be somebody who's investigating and pushing back, because if you just trust, then that trust will be abused. And the way that we did that before the internet, and we still do, is with the press, an institution that has incentives to find problems, to discover ways that trust is being abused by systems. And the great thing about the press is that they have that same pressure against them. So if they make up a story to sound really inflammatory, the whole institution of that organization, whether it's like the newspaper or the TV station or whatever, that reputation can get harmed, and thus a lot of value can be destroyed by them making big mistakes. And so the press had an incentive to build systems that prevented them from betraying their audience's trust and getting...
True. We need more gatekeepers back in media. Wait, here's Peterson directly contradicting his argument with you.
Whenever I walk out on the street and things aren't on fire, I'm pretty damn thrilled at how stable and peaceful things are. I don't take electricity for granted. I don't take the integrity.
Wait, no shot. How old is this fucking video? No way. And he accused me of arguing just to argue? Is he really going to make my argument here verbatim? Wait.
Whenever I walk out...
Maybe he's going to make a different point. Hold on.
...on the street and things aren't on fire, I'm pretty damn thrilled at how stable and peaceful things are. I don't take electricity for granted. I don't take the integrity of the supply chain for granted. I truly think these are miracles. I don't think the fact that the default interaction between human beings in the Western world, broadly speaking, the default economic transaction is based on trust. I don't take that for granted. That's a bloody miracle. It took us, hardly any societies have ever managed that, and it took us thousands and tens of thousands of years to produce that. But I think our children are so badly educated by people.
Well, okay, but now, okay, hold on. Okay, so think about how, okay, I'm seeing the full chain, okay? I'm seeing the full chain. Every single time I argue with somebody now, I see the whole... Where's my V for Vendetta fans at?
This is exactly...
Where he sees it all. He sees it all happening, okay? I see all of it happening, okay? So, Jordan Peterson has the correct take here, okay? This is correct. All of these transactions are built on some level of trust. They have to be.
People have no idea. They have no idea about economics. They have no idea about history. They have no idea about privation or suffering. They're looking for easy answers and people to blame for the remaining, catastrophes of the world.
True. Okay.
Relevant and worth.
But then when we have a disagreement on this, he says literally the exact same thing. So, do you know what it sounds like he's doing? Do you know what it sounds like has happened? Also, I don't even necessarily fault him for getting into this mindset because I talk about this a lot. You know what it sounds like he's doing? It sounds like he's doing exactly what he accused me of doing when he talked about our debate later on.
I've heard you say you're not confrontational by nature. Is that what you said? Or you don't enjoy...
Yeah, well, I'm an agreeable person. I wouldn't have been a clinician.
So this is remarkable to me because you do go on the offensive when you feel like someone's attacking you, which is, of course, what you should do, I think, in moderation. You did this recently with that fella Destiny.
Yeah.
I mean, that was fun to watch. And I thought the two of you, it was an excellent exchange, but you seem to have no trouble calling people out and getting...
Yeah, well, just because I'm agreeable doesn't mean I'm an idiot. And there is a distinction there. And it's been something I've wrestled with my whole life because I was a peaceable and agreeable child.
Hold on, we're getting to it.
I grew up in a relatively rough town and with relatively rough people. And I had to learn to hold my own. And that was I skipped a grade, so I was young and small in my class. That also put me at a disadvantage, especially athletically. And my friends were like tough kids. And
what
you
does
had
he
to learn
say in
to
the
defend
video?
yourself. And I could defend myself verbally.
Okay.
So
as an agreeable person, did you have to learn how to be disagreeable,
definitely
have it be uncomfortable, but just keep going anyway?
Yeah, I learn that all the time. Every agreeable person has to learn that.
Yeah.
I mean, that's partly what you do as a therapist. The baddest thing. I'm right, you're wrong. So, that redounds to my credit. I use my verbal intelligence as a weapon of dominance. Well, I stopped doing that when I was like 23. I thought, that's the prideful worship of the Luciferian intellect. It's a really bad idea. Like, seriously. It's a seriously bad idea. And so I don't like talking to people who want to be right. And Destiny wants to be right.
Also, a massive...
Oh, it was just that there right at the end. Destiny just wants to be right. Like, the fact that he said that when in our conversation, it was obvious that he was arguing to argue because he didn't want to bite he didn't want to bite my conclusion when that's exactly what he was doing, right? He just wanted to be right on that point. So now he's going to pretend that he doesn't trust any third parties at all because he has to make this argument because his whole argument is hinged on this like distrust of third party institutions. It's like, so this is exactly what he's doing, but then he accuses me of doing it. Why does it always happen this way? Holy shit. There's also something that is and also listen, if this is how you want to win, okay, this is the path to do it, all right? People think that they can wear me down in other ways. You're never going to wear me down in other ways, except for this. And it's people's complete and total inability or unwillingness to not engage with anything of substance ever, right? If I'm wrong on a thing, then argue it. Tell me why. Like, why am I incorrect, right? Why am I wrong about a thing that I'm saying? I could even spitball answers for him that would make more sense. Destiny's argument that you need to trust third parties is foolishly short-sighted because, like, institutional trust in third parties has historically led to those institutions abusing that trust with novel implementations of technologies in the future. For instance, the mRNA vaccines, the same way that, like, the church historically, we were just talking about the Catholic Church. The church historically, you know, people would follow God and that would be good. But then when people started to trust the Catholic Church as an institution that ruled over Europe, you know, they did bad things like selling indulgences. So this is why his idea is bad, right? I don't know if that's even a good argument. And I would argue against it, obviously. But, like, you could at least have some kind of argument other than the painfully lazy ad homs. Not to mention the fact that as an ad hominem, it's not even a good one.
Worship of the Luciferian intellect. It's a really bad idea. Like, seriously. It's a seriously bad idea. And so I don't like talking to people who want to be right. And
I do want to be correct.
And he wants to be right.
I do. Yes, I do want to be correct. So if I think something that's incorrect, I'll change my mind accordingly. I do want to be right. That is something I value a lot, is being correct about things. Yes. Now, obviously, his implication is that I'm more concerned with debating correctly or assuming that my answer is right than actually being correct or something, right? There's a deeper thing, a language game or whatever, right, that's going on there. But, like, what a stupid... okay, sorry.
Things wrong, because otherwise it would be damaging not just to society, but to the institution for which they work. All of the stuff that you learn in journalism school about ethics and objectivity are all there because, one, the press is attempting to actually provide a true value for society, and two, because there is a lot of harm that can be done to an institution by a member of that institution getting something wrong. But now we are in a world where it is so easy to destroy trust. Oftentimes that can happen without anything that big getting done incorrectly. Just like it is easy to destroy trust in anything at this moment, it is very easy to destroy trust in the press, which has a compounding effect, especially when you add that on to the fact that the internet completely destroyed the business model of the press, that we have lost a large portion of one of the main institutions that was actually good at helping people understand their world and at identifying things when they actually go wrong. This is less the case when it's just a bunch of people, because if one person loses their credibility, that isn't that much value being destroyed. And there's always another person ready to take their space very quickly. And also, it's hard in an environment with just so much information to actually, you know, you can make a video, and I have, about how many things Elon Musk got wrong in a single day, and that's not going to do very much harm to his reputation. For whatever reason, it just feels like it's a lot easier to destroy people's faith in an institution and like an organization of lots of people than in any individual person that you just might like really vibe with, even if you see them making a lot of mistakes. It's like, well, of course they make mistakes. They're just a person. He's just some guy with a podcast. Of course he's wrong about stuff all the time. That's what I like about him. He's being a human. Anyway, that was the first thing I felt like I had to include here. The second thing is that as I was editing this video, I realized that the press is named after the press. I don't know if that's just me, but I was like, whoa. And now we can go back to the video. I was editing this video, I realized that the press is named after the press.
Oh, shit, true. The printing press and the press. What the fuck? I feel like I read something, or I feel like I made another connection like this a month ago. Not the Martha's Vineyard one, not being Martha Stewart's vineyard. Fuck. There was another thing I was like, oh shit, that's what that means.
I don't know if that's just me, but I was like, whoa. And now we can go back to the video. As a refresher, because this was longer than I expected it to be, we were talking about trust and how society is built on trust and how we cannot do things without trust. Okay. Continue. Stories that tell people why their trust is misplaced are extremely compelling. They feel as if they could be life-saving even. And certainly, feeling like you might have been duped, or that everyone else is being duped but not you, are powerful tools for storytelling and powerful antitrust forces. Not like antitrust in terms of monopolies, just like degrading of trust. But it's really important to realize that that force is not necessarily pointed toward the worst offenders. Martin Luther was correct that the Catholic Church in the 1500s was corrupt and evil and had lost its way. The movement he kicked off is called the Reformation because it caused very needed reforms. He had a good target. But at the moment, it feels like everything is a target. And the internet is less a machine that devours corruption and more a machine that devours trust. Trust in each other, trust in society, in institutions, in expertise, in tradition, in our ability to do democracy. I don't think that's going to stop getting worse.
I think I've talked about this a little bit recently, but not that much. I wish there was a distinction made on the changing phases of the internet, because I don't think that the internet devours trust. I think that our current iteration of everything being so heavily driven by content algorithms and distribution algorithms, I think that is devouring trust. But like, I would argue that earlier versions of the internet, I think, did a lot more to build I feel like would build social cohesion or build trustful networks. Because like back when you went to like a message board or when you were on specific sites that had human moderators, that had human content curation, where there were people posting, I think that these things were good. And I don't think that they were contributing to the crazy environment that we have now in the same way that we have it now. Isn't this the natural conclusion, though? How do you avoid stepping from early to present internet? There are ways, but things that will never be implemented. One of them has to do with the horizontalization. That's not a real word. But one has to do with the horizontal expansion of media or social media to encompass every single thing that you do. Like, we need more specialized places on the internet. Yeah. Like, Reddit is probably not a good thing, and it would be better if every subreddit was like a different website. But that requires a lot more work. It means that there's going to be more human intervention and human curation of content and more humans that are posting on places. But it would disincentivize things like bots, right? Like if I want to spam or gain access to or have control over or influence over like 50 million users, I just need to get popular in one subreddit, right? I have a bot on Reddit and now I have access to so many different, subforums on message boards and shit. Fuck, am I really going to make message boards to target, Paul's Cute Kitties Emporium? Like, maybe, probably not, maybe. But it's so much more work. And it's the reward's not there as much. The people that are posting there are going to be more likely to be a certain type of people. You're not going to run into as much like brigading or stupid shit. But yeah, having these massive social media things that span the entirety or encompass the entirety of a person's internet usage is probably not good. Like, keep in mind that like people have been using the internet more and more every day, but like the number of sites they visit has decreased more and more as well, right? Like, it might be back in the day. I mean, well, to be fair, are you really going to a ton of different websites back in the day? You might be, actually. You might be going to like totally different message boards and posting, but now you can literally spend all day on Reddit or all day on Twitter or Instagram. And even a lot of the content that you're seeing in these places is the same, right? Like if I go to my subreddit, like, I'm not even seeing, like, on my subreddit, I'm seeing stuff from Twitter, right? I'm seeing stuff from Twitter, from DGG chat, band joke. I'm seeing stuff from, like, other social media platforms, right? So I've got a website that aggregates content and connects me with every other person on the internet because they're all using Reddit. And the content I'm looking at on Reddit is from other social media websites. And it's like, yeah, I think that construction of the internet is just not good. You got 30 seconds.
Hey,
I still have so much shit I'm working through. What's up?
Well, I was actually going to talk about the bot issue a little bit.
Tomorrow. Wait, you do it tomorrow, okay? Because unless you have, or go, if you want to give me a quick spiel on it, go.
Yeah, sure. So I think the bot problem is particularly a bad issue on sites like TikTok and Twitter. It's so especially when you're talking about like a character limit, very, very short form videos, stuff like that. That's where the fucking bot problem is the biggest issue. I haven't really seen that on YouTube aside from like the comment section, but it's kind of hard to write sophisticated bots if they're replying to a lot of different accounts. It's pretty easy to see, and YouTube's also pretty decent at dealing with the botting issue.
Yeah, I don't necessarily disagree that having a specialized forum where people are making like bots aren't making effort posts with like 20 paragraphs, right? Yeah, I agree with that. Okay, thank you for your contribution. I love you.
Okay, well, take care, Destiny.
Be careful.
And, oh yeah, I wanted to ask you again. Are you cool with me getting your kid like a early Christmas present or something?
No, I think listen, it's not you personally. I just don't want to create the standard of people buying gifts for, yeah. But I love you. Be careful.
I get it. Okay, well, take care. Tell your tall son that he's cool.
I'll let him know. Bye.
All right.
Soon. Though please, I would love to be proved wrong. Maybe it's not as bad as I think it is, because of course I'm exposed to the worst of it. And maybe we can turn it around quicker than I think. But in a society where so much trust has been destroyed, people are going to gravitate toward individuals they feel they can trust rather than institutions that actually have the knowledge and ability. And those individuals will thus have a great deal of power without a great deal of the ability to use it well. And that doesn't tend to be a great recipe for progress. I don't, however, want to learn the wrong lesson here. I don't actually know what the lesson is. And the lesson I hear getting tossed around, including from myself, is, okay, well, everybody's going to have to do populism now. And like, yeah, but also, I don't know. Like, here's the thing. I know that I am one of the elites in question, but like sometimes popular things suck. Right-wing folks, hear me out here if you're listening. Let's start here. Sometimes when the internet starts piling onto a person, we go too far too fast. We cancel people when maybe we didn't need to do that. And in my mind, the word cancel makes so much more sense if we just call it reputational harm, because cancel means so many different things. So in this case, someone's reputation gets badly damaged, and maybe that was the right thing to do, but maybe it wasn't. In the same way, I think there are two factors here when it comes to new media-induced populist attacks on expertise and institutions. First, there is how much does the expert or the institution deserve the harm to its reputation, which is not always 0 and not always 100. And second, how easy is it to do damage to the reputation? And those things have a relationship with each other, but they are not always tightly connected. Just like with a person, sometimes there's going to be an institution, like, say, whatever is making it so much harder to build new homes in blue states than red states, that I think deserves to be named and shamed. But then there's also going to be some things that I think are very easy to attack that yet have all available evidence suggesting they don't deserve to be canceled, like the measles vaccine or FDA regulations on raw milk. And I worry that our systems might be getting canceled, like experiencing tremendous reputational harm in a way that's going to be bad for the individual people of the country, despite the fact that they didn't do much wrong. There's a reason why tons of institutions are suddenly almost equally under reputational attack. The CDC, the FDA, the EPA, public schools, universities, the press, social media companies, governments that want to regulate certain social media companies as long as they're owned by Elon Musk, Ukraine, Europe, NATO, the UN, cities, voting machines, chemotherapy, water fluoridation. There's a feedback cycle between creators who make stuff, the systems that recommend it, and the audiences who watch and share it. And I know this because that's my world.
True. This guy's an identical cadence to Philip DeFranco. Destiny agree. Yeah, this is like the YouTuber cadence. Not that there's anything wrong with that. Also similar to CGP Grey as well, yeah.
I spend all of my time in it. As a creator, you know what's working and what's not. You know what's going to get attention and what's paying your bills. The system tells creators what is working, and creators do that. Like, it's very hard to not just do the things that succeed. Just like Martin Luther and his printers, but at the speed of light. If we aren't better at grabbing and holding attention than the next guy, we instantly fade into irrelevance. And the viewers accompany the creator.
Do the Valo cadence. Oh my God, I'm so glad I never played Valorant, because listening to videos on how the Valorant kids speak, I think I would off myself if I had to be in a lobby with that. Holy shit.
On the trip down the hole, starting a little suspicious of powerful and impenetrable systems and ending up certain that every election that doesn't go their way is fraudulent. It's important to note here that the group with less alignment to the existing systems is going to be the one that does best in that situation. And my group, who are more likely to be the ones who literally staff the bureaucracy, they're going to be the ones who don't do as well. And yeah, I am super suspicious of charismatic, powerful people who convince others that every system is bad and broken and that they're the only thing that you can trust. That often goes bad. I think we need to be very wary of that. So that's where we're at, I think. And it's bad, but it is not that weird, actually, and that's why it's happening all over the place at the same time. And look, I do not know what a political party is supposed to do. Thank God I am not a politician and do not aspire to be. But I do know what I feel like I should do. So my job is that I make things to help people understand things. And
so how come no right-wingers have ever been canceled? Why is everyone who's ever canceled still doing their career like normal? I don't think right-wingers tend to not get canceled, I think, because the buy-in for getting canceled is a lot, or to avoid getting canceled on the right is much simpler. Like, there's just a few kind of core ideas that I think human behavior naturally gravitates towards to not get canceled. You have to support Trump, and you need to support like core conservative ideas. And as long as you're there, you're fine. I think on the left, the behaviors that are expected of a person are a lot more outside of the norm. Like, you can never make an edgy joke, or even when you were like 14, you couldn't have ever tweeted out or said a thing or whatever. It's much, much, much harder to pass that standards of behavior on the left. And that's why it's easier to cancel people on the left. But people on the right do get canceled, right? The most popular early example of this would be like the Dixie Chicks, right? Was it for not supporting Bush or for not supporting the war in Iraq? I don't remember. But like people do get canceled on the right, but they are either brought back in line quickly or obliviated, right?
one of the problems is that it's a lot easier to attack systems that are...
This level of canceling is over, no? Yeah, I don't think that this happens as much anymore either. I think we're kind of over that, but...
that I make things to help people understand things. And one of the problems is that it's a lot easier to attack systems that are impenetrably complex. So I'd like to suggest to folks out there who might be able to do this, make them less complex and also work to make them better. But barring that, which is your work, not mine, we need to continue to develop technologies that explain things well and that help people understand the mechanisms at work in society. And ideally, we need to do that in ways that are not perceived as hyperpartisan, which hopefully the ship has not yet sailed on for me. And along the way, as I explain things, there are times, and there will be times, that I realize that the system is quite bad, and we need to be honest about that.
Noah Smith has a good article on this, talking about how the change from Reddit-style specialized boards to Discord-style private, unstructured servers where nothing is stored or organized has been terrible for internet culture. Maybe. I mean, I think it depends on I mean, it depends on the type of content you're going for. Like, I think, for instance, like 4chan doesn't store stuff permanently, although that's actually not even necessarily true. Because there are some pervasive things even across 4chan, like the fit sticky was a pervasive thing from thread to thread. But I mean, like 4chan isn't meant to be like, here's a long effort post or whatever. I do think on boards or on message boards, on early message boards, I feel like the permanence of the post sometimes, I think, led to a more, you had like, there was like a pride to contributing to certain like online communities. Like there would be certain stickies, or there would be certain posts, like, oh, like if you want to, where am I even drawing this from in my brain? I feel like I remember this, but it's been so long, I don't know where from. Like if you had a question about like, oh, how do I set this up? People like, oh, check out this guy's post on this, is like really good. Oh, sometimes, not K, but guns, the guns subreddit had stuff like this, where people would be like, I don't know, is 9mm or 45 the better kill round? Or what's the best 1911 to buy? It's like, oh, check out this guy's post on this. Like, this guy's the best poster on this. These people that come around and they make these massive effort posts on things. I'm sorry, when I said guns, I'm talking about the guns subreddit. There's also the guns K message board on 4chan, but it's a different thing. But like getting people that want to contribute these big effort posts into media that's so much more transient. I don't know if you'd say that. Like, it's just kind of like lost in time. I don't know if there's as much of a desire to contribute. Right? Like, why would you want to make these big effort posts if the post goes up and then it's gone in 2 days and it's like, yeah, I don't know.
Are times, and there will be times, that I realize that the system is quite bad, and we need to be honest about that. But remember, there are two parts. There's how easy it is to cancel a system, and there's how much a system deserves it. And there's interplay between those two things. Sometimes a system is ripe for cancellation for bad reasons, like that people don't like needles and have a subconscious inclination to believe that having things injected into them is probably bad. And sometimes they are susceptible for good reasons, like if a college education has been increasing in price for the last 50 years to the point where it's now saddling students with a lifetime of debt, and that more than 50% of students with debt never end up with a degree. That's bad. And
you said that you didn't like the strongman archetype. You prefer the wisdom of the crowd when it comes to progress. Well, those two things have nothing to do with each other. I don't know what that means. I don't like the strongman archetype because, and it depends on what you mean by strongman archetype. There are traditional masculine archetypes that I think are incredibly positive, but I'm just saying that the one that people fall for today online are generally like weak men archetypes, but they're like like if you read an old book or you watch a movie or whatever, anybody that works in media or culture, like the guy, banging on his chest talking about how masculine and alpha he is never the actual masculine guy. This is always like the weak character. It's always the weak man. It's always the weak male archetype. But for some reason, people look at, in traditional media, I'm sorry, not traditional, in alternative media, people view those same archetypes as being the actual strong, which is very strange. I don't know. That's weird. I don't know how that change happened. Well, I know why. It's because you're selling it to a bunch of people that are looking for guidance. So those types of deceptively weak men who appear as strong men are the most attractive kind, I guess.
And we should point at it, and we should say, this is bad, and we let it happen. This is our fault, and we can't just sit there and not do anything about it. I don't know if this all means that adopting populism is the right call for people who want to win elections. I'm actually not thinking about elections, though. I'm thinking, can we speedrun this? Because after the print revolution, there were 200 years of religious wars, and for 100 of them, the best-selling book after the Bible was about how to identify and burn witches. And I would just love to avoid that. Yes, just like how some populist forces identify Jews, and some identify immigrants, and some identify the wealthy elites. For a long time, it was witches, and like hundreds of thousands of them were murdered, and now...
Is Reset Era one of the few online gaming spaces that feel like old forms? Maybe, but isn't Reset Era also like a super wokey lefty thing, or was that just a long time ago?
Some identify the wealthy elites. For a long time, it was witches, and like hundreds of thousands of them were murdered, and now we have forgotten it so much that witches are like an adorable little folksy thing in our culture. We move forward in the ways that we do, I guess. I want to leave you with one last thing about Martin Luther and the Reformation that I find fascinating and important. As he critiqued the Catholic Church and his pamphlets made money for printers, his words were translated from the German that he spoke and wrote in into other European languages. Meanwhile, the Church stuck doggedly to its policy of only ever publishing content in the properly authoritative Latin, meaning that most people were unable to read them because not only could they not read Latin, they couldn't speak Latin. It was a language purely of the elites. And I mean, like, good, because the Catholic Church had become so corrupt it deserved what was coming to it. But
Wait, hold on. I'm sorry. I just picked up a thread in YouTube chat. I guess my point would be more nuanced, that cancellation is voluntary by allowing people to cry bully you. It didn't work on Destiny, and he's left. canceling can work in varying forms, but it depends on how reliant you are on systems around you. So for instance, if you're a person that carries a lot of sponsors, you can be canceled if your sponsors drop you, right? Or if you're a person that is hosted or has a deal with a certain platform, you can be canceled by that platform unhosting you or banning you, right? There are forms of cancellation that you can't just like get through. It really depends on what form of cancellation you're talking about and how much support you need from other things, but yeah.
I feel like there's a parallel here to leaders today feeling like they have to stick to the properly authoritative news sources, but not the actually accessible Joe Rogan experiences. And that's not just a media thing. Like, it's not just a where you go and who you talk to thing. It's a you need to be a human thing. You need to act like a human. And I need to see you less on the stage with Beyonce and more talking to people who people actually think are relevant thinkers to their situations. We need people who are good at
Yes.
talking to Joe Rogan experience like they have to stick.
Fuck. Okay. I'm not the originator of all ideas on the internet, but I feel like he's encompassed like 7 major ideas that I've been talking about recently. But maybe a lot of people across the media sphere are landing in on this. That celeb thing is also important. When people talk about like celebrity endorsements from the left, like nobody cares that Taylor Swift like dipped her toe into the political arena for 2 microseconds to be like, guys, by the way, supporting Kamala is really important to me. And then like left immediately. Like, okay, Joe Rogan lives and breathes culture and media. Like, it doesn't compare. It's not even close to comparable. The types of endorsements that the right gets for people that are willing to participate actively in the media sphere. Even that, is it Kevin Saboro, the fucking guy? I don't know the name. Like, even like these weird celebrities like this, these people like live and breathe MAGA. These people live and breathe the culture and the politics. They don't just come in to make a quick endorsement and then skedaddle out. Right. Whereas on the left, we get these like celebs that will, dip in. Kevin Sorbo, yeah, the Hercules guy. They'll dip in. They'll make like one quick, like, oh yeah, by the way, I support Kamala, and then they leave. And it's like, okay, who cares? Like, you debated his wife on PVD. Yeah, I remember. It's cringe.
To read Latin, they couldn't speak Latin. It was a language purely of the elites. And I mean, like, good, because the Catholic Church had become so corrupt it deserved what was coming to it. But I feel like there's a parallel here to leaders today feeling like they have to stick to the properly authoritative news sources, but not the actually accessible Joe Rogan experiences. And that's not just a media thing. Like, it's not just a where you go and who you talk to thing. It's a you need to be a human thing. You need to act.
Can you name one celebrity in Hollywood that is supporting Trump? In Hollywood? No. But can you name one celebrity in Hollywood that has a consistent cultural presence that supports Kamala? Because Hollywood is supposed to be, this is another issue too, with my, I haven't, it's the cultural participation thing. The culture is supposed to be like owned by the left, and it kind of is, but those people who like are culturally on the left that are whatever, they don't even like support like that super ultra progressive culture isn't even aimed at the candidates, right? It's another issue with the media thing. So even in the culture that we do own, it doesn't do anything to strengthen, the vote for Democrats, like in a knock on a way, or like there might be like effects downstream where they try to make it. People are saying like Mark Hamill or whatever, that he does tweet a lot, like he is political and he tweets about it, but he doesn't have like a regular media appearance or presence where he's like his political influence is felt. People are bringing up Sylvester Stallone as well. Like these guys don't have anywhere near the same types of like regular media appearances where they're talking about, these issues. Mark Cuban is a good example of, yes, that's been a good, Mark Cuban is a good example. He's recent, but there needs to be more people, way more people like him. Yeah.
Act like a human. And I need to see you less on the stage with Beyonce and more talking to people who people actually think are relevant thinkers to their situations. We need people who are good at communicating and also have an allegiance to the truth. And that's harder. It's harder because there's only one truth while there are infinite lies. As you're doing the work to try and get everything right, a grifter on Reels has run a couple of laps around you, so they have that advantage. But
people are saying Jimmy Kimmel and Stephen Colbert. I would say Stephen Colbert, yes. Jimmy Kimmel, I don't know as much. Colbert, probably, yeah, though. That's a fair thing. I haven't seen Kimmel, how he talks about the candidates at all. I'm not sure. Colbert was a pretty staunch supporter of the candidate, I think, right? But I don't know about Kimmel. I haven't seen.
But they also have a disadvantage, which is that the things that they are saying aren't true. And as we get better at not letting this new media cast spells on our brains, as we always eventually do, the folks with the better information do tend to win out. Eventually. The question is, how long? The space between the Reformation and the Enlightenment was not quick. It was more than 150 years. It seems important to me that our path here be a lot shorter than that. So let's focus on that. John, I'll see you on Tuesday. A bibliography for the end of this video.
Wow.
This was video.
You feel like the left-leaning media environment would have been more willing to support the party if we didn't have Biden being so old, plus Gaza being so politically toxic. Those two things probably didn't help. Were they determinative? Like, was that like, were those the things that pushed it over? I don't know. It's hard to say, but. Maybe you're in the bibliography. True, but probably not.